It'll wash the body out.
Silly, don't wash out body. Cream in body with Luster Cream shampoo.
Really?
Luster Cream's in body. It's got more bodybuilding ingredients than any leading shampoo.
Creamy lather. Dreamy body.
Looks like you're next.
Luster Cream, you've done it again.
Oh, I can't go out tonight with your father with this hair. And my shampoo washes the body out.
Don't wash out body, Mom. Cream in body with Luster Cream shampoo.
Really?
Luster Cream's in body. It has more bodybuilding ingredients than any leading shampoo.
Creamy lather. Beautiful body.
New hairdresser, dear.
No, new Luster Cream shampoo. And a very wise daughter.
Kids are impressionable. That's why here at this station, we watch the programs and commercials your child watches carefully. He may see bad guys, but not in the role of heroes. And he'll learn that crime doesn't pay. Because your child's welfare is our concern, too. That's part of our code. The code of the National Association of Broadcasters for television and the greater public interest.
This flat tire needs a man, but when there's no man around, when there's no man around, Goodyear should be. Why? Watch this. New Goodyear Double Eagle carries its own spare inside. Lifeguard safety spare. A tire in a tire. Keeps on going. Next time, give her a second chance.
Lynch took off at 7:45 a.m., flew 2,949 miles, made 3 stops. And most of the trip still lies ahead. Now there are schedules to check, flight reports to make, a quick supper with friends before turning in. Next morning, on the go again at 6:15. Then St. Louis, Cincinnati, finally New York. Glamour job. Mary Ann has made dozens of runs like this, served hundreds of hot meals, greeted thousands of new people. It all demands a lot of charm and works out to a lot of Coke. Does Coca-Cola have the taste you never get tired of? Do we mean it when we say Coke is always refreshing? Is things go better with Coke after Coke after Coke just a slogan? Write Miss Mary Ann Lynch, Trans World Airlines, Box 7144, St. Louis, Missouri. She'll tell you.
Coca-Cola has the taste you never get tired of. always refreshing. That's why things go better with Coke after Coke after Coke.
In the dull and commonplace occurrences of day-to-day living, one thing stands out as a completely unique experience. Colt 45 malt liquor. In the dull and commonplace occurrences of day-to-day living, one thing stands out as a completely unique experience. Colt 45 malt liquor.
I think I'm cute. I know I'm sexy. I've got the look that drives the girls while I got the moves that really move them. I send chills up and down their spines. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. Let's get it. I make them hot. I make them shiver. They just get weak whenever I'm around. They see me walk. They hear me talk. I make them feel like their God ain't real. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. That might let the girls. Hands off the merchandise. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. Welcome everybody to the Pocket Locker Podcast. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast. and I am joined by Sam. Are you ready to go, four-legged one? Jewish Space Laser, the Refiner's Fire, one-hit wonder, Liberty Bell, the most sexy United States Championship belt in the history of World Wrestling Entertainment. The entire late night crew is here, and we are ready to get going. Before we jump into the program, it is time to catch a vibe. And ain't nothing vibier to me right now on a Saturday as an East Coast nigga than this shot at Jerry's pull up. Let's go.
Yeah. She be getting her hair done Tuesday. Where you going? Feet up, relaxing, sipping that Douce.
Oh, yeah, that's real vibey.
Shit, I can hit you on my two-way, or I could try to make you my new babe.
AR was first.
Who ordered expensive lobster and
hella pocket things.
Now that'll be me. Had to pull up in that CP3. Now do you love me, Lil Key? Shot town to New Jersey, we gon' pull up. Hell yeah, I got the hook up. Anytime that you need me, we gon' pull up. Damn right, I got the hook up. And say you gotta act brand new. Nah, I can't
look at the trees a second.
Just to show with the fam, do no text, no calls, no reasons to be involved. Young John Wall taking what's give it and get it off. Come on. What you doing, girl? Pull up on me. I spend a lot of time living in the moment. I'm in the city with the gas roll for you. Can I come get you and we bend them corners? Disrespect about me. No disrespect about city, so you know I'm about it.
Cameron Bennett was third, sounding ambitious.
Days I'm in the hood like what it is. I might slide up on you like what up, bitch. Cause you know I like to play with you. Come spend the day with you, come kick it, seeing what it do. You feeling comfortable, I make the move. But now it's different though, I guess it's cool.
That's it though.
My love member after school days when I picked you up. So now you fucked around and changed, almost messed it up. See, I ain't changed, baby, trying to catch a plane with you. Came back around to show you that I'm made for you. And here you go with the same old song on your weekend shit. I might just wish I never met her like Carl Tom is, but I ain't tripping no. Stay up on the grind, we gon' get some dough. And you got that good ass brain, I had to let you know. Really wanna let you know. Tell me where you wanna go and what you wanna know.
Whoa.
What you doing, girl? Pull up on me. I spend a lot of time living in the moment. I'm in the city with the gas roll for you. Can I come get you and we bend them corners? No disrespect about me. No disrespect about city, so you know I'm about it. So you know I'm about it. I can tell you about it. Now let me tell you about it. Plan, no, I had to shout it. So you know I'm about it. I can tell. What you doing, girl? Pull up on me. I spend a lot of time living in the moment. I'm in the city with the gas roll for you. Can I come get you and we bend them corners? No disrespect about me. No disrespect about city, so you know I'm about it. So you know I'm about it. I can tell you about it. Now let me tell you where you playing. No, I had to shout it.
All right, y'all. That was fun. Let me pause that. Perfect. All right, y'all. It's communion time. I actually, yeah. We got a good show for you. We got a lot of things going on. Let me switch my screens up here so I could get back with the gang and gather. Let's see. Let's do a little screen management. Let's get rid of this guy. We watched the Count of Monte Cristo last night as the feature in Gather. It was a really, really, really great movie. Great book, but the movie kicked a whole lot of ass too. All right, let's get ready to go here. I think, yep, James is here with me. James, you can hear me okay? Make sure I've got Myron bot muted. Fine. Yep, great. All right, thanks. So let's go ahead and get into our communion ritual. All right, I think I had everything ready to go. Oh, I do. It's here, over here. Wrong window. Boom. All right, everybody, here we go. Y'all know the drill. Please raise your glasses and hold on to your asses. Through him, with him, in the unity of the flying man. All glory and honor is yours who flight for our sins forever and ever. You may drink. Oh, yeah, it's good. Oh, you gotta love that pipe organ. If you didn't, go fuck yourself. It was goddamn expensive. I gotta tell you, it takes a lot of money to do what I do. And I definitely probably shouldn't have put a double, triple shot in there, or whatever the fuck I did. I'll pay for that later. Good job, alcohol. All right, so let's get into our communion song. And we're going to go with the community theme song here, that being our Cheers theme. One of my, I don't know, I've listened to a bunch of covers of it. Yeah, I'm sure y'all could tell this is my favorite. It's by Foy Vance. He's got some other really good covers too. All right, here we go. I'm gonna give AR $500,000 for helping me out with the games lately too.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. Well, all those nights when you got no
Shout out to Hippie Smiles
and
for
the
the
check
ball.
is in the mail.
I love this thing.
And your little angel on the cowed by its tail. Your third fiancé didn't show. Well, sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and you're always glad they came. You wanna be where you can see troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. Well, you get out of bed and the coffee's dead. The morning isn't looking bright. You shrink right off to Europe and he doesn't even write.
All right, let's see who's here. AR,
your
appreciate
girlfriend
you.
says she's not a girl.
Iris Gaming, Cameron, Melody Joy, James Apperson.
Everybody knows your name.
Look at the trees.
And they're always glad you came.
You see love is in the house.
You wanna be where you can see troubles are
Appreciate all you guys.
same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. You wanna be where you can see troubles are all the same.
AR, what the hell are those emojis?
You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
The that little Pac-Man? Alright. Good shit.
Boy,
good
Vance.
shit, good
Most
shit.
common word coming in by text, boy, is goosebumps. Believe it or not, we've had that repeatedly across the whole series. If you want to see Foy Vance's cheeky grin when he sang the line,
some guy in cause. All right, here we go. Now let's hit the MJ interlude because I got to pull something up here. Ready for takeoff?
Start my morning every day with her. In the afternoon I lay with her. In the evening I'ma stay with her. Hi, I'm in love. I ain't even tripping.
It's nice Saturday weekend vibes. Let's go.
Every day for me. In the morning hit her faithfully. At least a dub when we touch. No one falling in love. I ain't even tripping cause she the one I could trust. Even bring her out on dates with me. See my mama new place with me. She hold me down on the days when I ain't feeling too up. I ain't even tripping cause she with me in the clutch. I go all out the way for ya. Take some time out my day for ya. I even took her on a plane, but she ain't even a drug. Some say I'm tripping, but they ain't even in love. In
God.
the morning I might lay with ya.
Yahweh himself.
I play with ya. But I know I'm never tripping. The signs say
Do you think Yahweh would be offended to identify as the they, them? Like, Yahweh is portrayed as pretty serious about that the masculine pronouns.
Some say I'm tripping. She turned me into the plug. She be there dealing way with me. She be there.
I don't think God's in step with the they, them, unless you know me like that initiative.
Thinking I'm off the drugs. I go all out the way for ya. In the morning I might lay with ya. In the afternoon I stay cause she know that I'm in love. I ain't even tripping cause she the one I could trust. She go running every day with me. Take the kids out to play with me. They say I'm tripping, I ain't slipping cause she ain't even a drug. Niggas sipping lean.
These people would be affected exactly.
I might play with ya.
Yeah.
Take a long walk and
For
stay
sure.
with ya. She my sweet Mary Jane and she the one I could trust. Niggas sipping lean, but me I'm smoking a dub. I go all out the way for ya. Take some time out my day for ya. I even took her on a plane, but never enough. Some say I'm tripping, but they ain't even in love. In the morning I might lay with ya.
I always hate how I have like.
In the afternoon I play with ya. But I know I'm never tripping cause hi, I'm in love. Mary Jane is different cause she ain't even a drug. Yeah.
Alright, gang, let's jump into this shit. I get to steal Uncle Bobby's line. He's my motherfucking co-host. You know, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. You co-host shows with somebody, you watch them every day, you start saying their shit. You know, shouldn't have become my friend. You know, if you wanted to keep your shit like that.
Truth.
All right, here we go, y'all. We gonna revisit. We got a little update on the Brittany Griner situation. So,
really?
it's a very interesting update. And so, you know, we're gonna get into mostly some people we want to support and some positive shit today. But let's start with a little bit of an anger hard on. Let's go.
I think it's going to be specifically difficult for.
This is kind of interesting.
She doesn't know Russian language, and she cannot
Man, that's quiet.
learn about. I think it's going to be specifically difficult for Brittany because she doesn't
Can you
know
hear
Russian
okay there,
language, and she cannot learn about.
Like, I don't know if Myron Bot is in proper position. I haven't checked him out. All right, Myron Bot, what are you doing? You're on the spotlight tile. Okay. You've got the correct audio setup. Okay. James, could you hear that video?
Yeah.
Could you see it okay? Yeah, his screen was okay? Okay. Yeah, I was just checking. All right, here we
It's a
go.
law that she has to obey in penal colony, and she cannot protect herself. Your morning starts from
Check this out.
a scream, подъем, бляди, which means get up, whores.
That was supposed to be the title of today's stream, but I forgot. Today's stream was supposed to be called Get Up Horse. Yeah. But could you fucking imagine? All right, so this woman was, she's part of this protest group, Pussy Riot. She spent 2 years in a Russian prison. So she's talking about the conditions in the penal colony that Brittany Griner is now in. And she's talking about how, you know, they punish you for, let's say you don't do your work or somebody doesn't do work task properly. I shouldn't say don't do your work. You don't do a particular task the way they want. Or you don't, you know, attend an event the way they'd like or whatever. They will turn off the hot water. Not for hours, but for days.
Wow.
So this is just, you know, Get Up Whores is the beginning of a day of exactly that type of treatment. Like, just awful. Some of the treatments she should be prepared to encounter.
Wake up at 6 a.m.
Wake up at
6. Work for 16 hours a day.
Work for 16 hours.
Police uniforms.
So police uniform.
They turn other prisoners against.
No to making uniforms for 5-0. Okay, that's not gonna work. Yeah, this is a really shitty existence, y'all. Wow. Can you imagine having to make police uniforms as a prisoner every day?
Right.
For 16. Nope.
That'd be like a little kid in the like Catholic church choir having to spend their days making knee pads.
Well, it's like being a fucking pedophile victim that happens to be a fucking altar boy, right? Like literally, like you're serving at the foot of a fucking pastor, and then they just fucking abuse you. But yeah, this shit is this is exactly the type of tip that on, except you know, also you're a prisoner.
They will punish everyone else in a penal colony. Let's say take away their warm clothing from them, and they will tell them openly that it happened because of her. This all happened because of Brittany.
Damn. So after 5 months of detainment, she was moved there on the 9th to serve a 9-year sentence for this, where she came through with that bag there of vape pens, I guess, with weed in it. So they consider it a wrongful detainment, the U.S., and yeah, it's an ongoing case. Now, here's what's interesting, is Joe Biden is all like, free Britney. All right, so y'all see what I did there, I'm sure. All right, now, so the thing is, the upside of this is that, you know, he says he's trying to get her back, and there's some talk and optimism that he'll be able to bring her back. However, what's interesting to me is that supposedly the deal that they're trying to work out is to trade her for a particular Russian prisoner. Now, what's interesting is that this Russian prisoner is like an arms dealer or some shit like that. Ooh, sorry. And he's actually called the Merchant of Death. So it just don't strike me. I mean, obviously nothing about this is okay, but it's a little fucked up that it's like, oh, you want that basketball player that brought through the vape pens? Cool. Give us the Merchant of Death and we'll call it even.
Right.
It just, there's something a little funky about the math there.
Right.
So that's kind of my deal there. All right, Cameron, appreciate you. But yeah, that's just what bothers me about this is it's weird to feel like really like don't get me wrong. We're all like, whatever it takes to bring her home. Honestly, I didn't care about that Russian arms dealer before. I won't care about him later. So go ahead and do the deal. But it's a shady deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a little fucked up. Like,
oh, yeah. Truth.
Yeah, it's weird. UC Love also said they do stuff like take away all the warm clothes and say it's their fault. That's what they would normally do. Whew. Yeah, that's not okay, man. So all of this is super fucked up that it's like, oh, we'll put her in this super fucked up situation, then you give us back the merchant of death for the basketball player. But I wanted to, let's just say, speak to some of the things that are going on in our community, because now we have an impetus to really say, it seems like people in our community don't understand some of these things. So now let's lay it out. It's kind of nice for us because, like I said, James, we get so bored of the religion and the philosophy and the blase and the glavinoids. So now let's talk about the real world, social issues, personal issues, shit that actually fucking matters. And this is what happens, why we say if you want to use racist dog whistling to, I don't know, grow an audience or have some fun, you can go fuck yourself, because that is the issue. It's the utilization of black people, black bodies, black lives, same with other marginalized groups, as a means to your end, right? So here you have, again, not that any particular person is worth more than others, but it's interesting in this case that you have this sort of generational talent here who brings through some oil pens, and they're like, yes, now I bet you we can get the merchant of death back. Yeah, what? Why? Like, so it's just so weird that even in the, first off, let's not assume she's gonna be home until she's home. I'll believe she's home when she's home. But let's say, like, this is the thing that does it. It's kind of just like, okay, but that's the problem right there.
Yeah.
Right? That, like, you got to get put in this whole fucked up ass situation for people to care. And then, you're just being used as a pawn in this other game that has nothing to do with you. But your life hangs in the balance as an actual bargaining chip. Like, we are literally sitting at a fucking poker table, and I will raise you Brittany Griner, right? Like, what the fuck?
So,
go ahead, James.
None of this makes any sense in the context of seeing governments as what they pose as, or what the common people think of government as. But if you understand it as just rival mafia gangs, right, and their country is their turf, and their country, that the government simply is a mafia. I don't mean it's like a mafia. I don't mean it's like functions similarly. I'm not using an analogy here. Literally, they're a mafia, right? And so, yeah, you wander into, but they find you useful. They kidnap you, right?
Right.
They call it something else because there's a certain, like, public relations issue for why they have to call it something else.
Right.
But it's just this. You just abducted her off the street as somebody they found useful. And yeah, it's a slave trade. That's all it is. We own your ass because we say we do, because we have the power to say we do. And we're going to treat you how we want to, exploit the hell out of you, and get what we want out of it. It's just mafia turf wars. That's all it is.
Yeah, and that's what's really crazy. So the thing I wanted to, because we did cover the Brittany Griner thing quite a bit the other day, I just wanted to follow up and say, pretty much what you said. Here's a perfect example. You got the mafia bosses. One of them is representing the USA. The other is Russia. Both are engaged in some ultra shady shit. But Russia, in this case, being a particular, I don't even know what the fuck they're on. They got to get their homeboy back. So they're literally like, boom, let's lock her up. It's a totally fucked up deal to begin with. It
is.
But
I didn't call it a prisoner exchange. It's just a hostage exchange. That's all it is.
Absolutely. And I just want people to see this is what we're talking about. Why some people get to be useful, right? And other people, it's unacceptable to use as a bargaining chip. This is what the article the other day was talking about. If this was a person who fit a different demographic, there would be a lot of outrage, even kind of at this whole deal. Whereas with her, it's kind of like, look, let's just do the deal and get her out of there. So it just plays out. And again, it's never gonna be whatever it is. Like we've talked about this. It's just human nature. So it's probably never gonna be all the way resolved. But this highlights why it is so problematic for people, especially with white privilege, who we know on the internet, to casually use people of color when they think they got to make a political point or, have a little edgy fun. No. You are reinforcing this exact culture where we all know it's not okay to utilize other people like this. This is, like you said, this is I kidnap you and then what? Your property, right? Mm-hmm. And now you're in the exchange. That's not okay. We all know that. But if I can, do anything right now, then you need to be on the side of making sure this type of shit doesn't happen rather than enabling it, right? All right, now, with that out the way, Dank Slug said they went to the cafe. So, and I think AR went over there to meet them. So let's pop over to the cafe real quick to go meet her. You know how to do that, James, right? Mm-hmm. Just go to home and then the cafe. Yeah. All right, UC Love, we're going over to the cafe. We'll see you over there. All right, so now we just go to the cafe. Boop, done. Oh, shit. I went as Myron bot. Whoops, I forgot. All right, so I guess the question is, where is, we got to try to get, they did. That's all right. We'll chill here for a little bit, see if they come back.
So, can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, they just came back in, so they're over there with AR. I think they'll come over here in a sec.
All right. So, yeah, the problem is people partition their brains in such a way where they know a certain thing is wrong, but they see it differently if the institution is doing it. So they know a given behavior is wrong, but it's okay when Christianity does it. Or they know a certain behavior is wrong, but it's okay when their government does it. Right. And all that goes back to the way people not just partition their minds and their values, but the way that they frame their narratives. And it's this appeal to authority, is this sense of living under the roof of Big Daddy. Big Daddy, of course, gets to decide what happens under his roof in his house. right? You live in his house, you follow his rules.
Yes.
And so that's just institutionalized thinking. But so many people are caught up in it that you can tell them, hey, you can just ask them, is a certain kind of behavior right or wrong? And they'll say wrong, right? Period.
Right.
But then they'll see the same behavior when either their religion or their government does it, and all of a sudden, well, it's perfectly fine. Because, they have a special kind of reason and a special kind of warrant that allows them to do the thing because it's for the greater good. And we just trust that they're being honest with us about why they're doing it, and we just defer to their authority even though it defies our own value system because they have special license, they have special authority to do things that normal people don't get to do. And there's actually a brilliant video about that that we'll talk about later. But yeah, so this is exactly why it's not good enough to have a conversation with a Christian fundamentalist that isn't about religion, so you can talk about values. And I've tried that before. I thought, well, what if I want to have the same conversation with them, but I don't point out that their religion does the thing, right? I simply have the conversation about the value issue itself, and then let them make the connection to, oh shit, my religion does this thing. But it doesn't work. They can agree with everything I'm saying about moral right and wrong and never make the mental connection that all the things they say are wrong are what their Bibles advocate for, and what their church and their God and their religion, all that shit's on the other side of wrong, right? It's on the other side. And they don't make the connection. And if you point it out, they'll think about it and go, oh, well, it's okay when my religion does it. It's okay when my God does it, right? And it's like, so you're getting nowhere with these people. And it's very frustrating to see it happening on a government level too, because if more people thought in a more mature way, then when their governments do this shit, they wouldn't support it. They'd say, nah, you ain't kidding nobody. You're just a mafia. You're taking hostages, treating people like they're cattle,
Right.
And we would understand that. But so many people are so indoctrinated into their power hierarchies that they can't see beyond the idea of daddy knows best, right? And until societies get past that way of thinking, we're just going to stay stuck in that.
And this is part of the situation with the war, right? I mean, it's like, how do we still live in a world where we can all watch this play out? Okay. And it reveals that we're so powerless, right? But the people who do have the power and the influence are not being held to that standard. Like, it's just like we all, and I'm not saying I know what the solution is, right? I'm just saying I know this isn't okay. Like, and it's crazy that we don't somehow have more in place to prevent this type of thing from happening. I really feel like we live in the tools for the we have modern tools, but I'm not sure that we live in a modern world, right? Because it sort of feels very barbaric and archaic. Like it I mean this when I say this, like it reflects that I think I understand it, right? We evolve a lot slower than we think we do, right? So our tools, our culture, our economies, our political systems, they all move along and things change every day. But a human generation is 20 years. So our minds are barely not cavemen. You know what I mean? They're cavemen plus, pretty much.
Sure.
Whereas
but at the same
tools of the environment are damn near jets and shit.
Right. So our technology is progressing at such a rate that it creates the illusion of meaningful progress that we're not actually making as a society. And the media helps with that, the government helps with that to create the illusion of progress. And so they talk a lot about human rights and they focus on what other countries do that's bad. They don't focus on and then in their own country, they only focus on what the other political party does that's bad, right? They're just always creating this illusion of, a larger awakening than what's happening. And it's frustrating because even though there is a progressive awakening, it is going much slower than it needs to go.
Absolutely.
Most humans are physiologically capable of a greater enlightenment, a greater awareness of propaganda and of psychology and sociology and, just all the different ways that our minds work. So many things that I used to do thoughtlessly that were horrible, that once I became aware of the mechanism, I quit doing the shitty shit. And it's just a lot of it comes down to so many people want to be their best self, but they don't know how, because that information wasn't included in what they were given when they were growing up. The schools didn't educate them about how to become a better person. Their parents didn't. Their church didn't. Right? And so they grow up thinking that they're at the head of the curve, because that's the narrative that they've been fed.
And
they
this
can't
argues for some sort of rudimental social. So I used to argue for the social skills in school. Like, you should teach people how to greet each other, how to have a job interview, different social skills, the basic stuff. But I think in addition to that, there should be some sort of basic, definitely secular, social philosophy, so that people start at an early age able to think about social goods, information, literacy, different things. But here's the thing. That ain't never gonna work. I am a person who thinks people who talk about reaching the children and fixing the schools are like, it's great. It needs to be done. The school system always needs to be better so that the future is brighter and bolder and beyond and whatever, right? But most people ain't in the school system. I used to do the math of, let's say, a person, and I'm making the math crude, but I think you'll see that it's reasonable. Let's say a person lives to be 80, right? Pretty conservative. They're in school till they're 20. Again, conservative. It's probably 17, right? But let's say it's that. Let's just say with that simple math, a quarter of your life or less, you are in a formal education system. And during that quarter, you don't have a job. You can't vote. You aren't raising a family. The other 3/4 of your life, you are raising a family, you can vote, you're working, on and on and on, but you have no ties to formal education. You probably never take a class the rest of your life. So we have got to radically change our fundamental educational paradigm such that education is really a lifelong endeavor, rather than something that you do as a child, because that shit don't work, because it's just fundamentally incongruent with the ways in which our actual social system works. Appreciate the feedback from AR and the gather. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I didn't have that up. Yeah, awesome. So yeah, if Dank Slug wants help with making their sound work, we can walk them through it on the stream.
Yeah, they got their. Yeah, I think they're back in. So that was what AR was letting us know, that they made it back in, and because they can't hear us over there. I think they.
Oh, they can't. If they can't hear us, then it doesn't matter what we
hear
say.
us on stream, but.
Oh, okay. So if they can hear us on stream, like there's the bottom row. There's the grapes, grape symbol, and then your avatar, and then your name, and it shows that you're online. The very next thing, reading from left to right, is the microphone or sound button. So you click on that. There's like a down arrow. You click on it, and it will bring up all your options for your microphone and for your speaker, and then you can manually select them that way. And if that doesn't work, that's at least part of the equation. You have to have that set correctly.
Yeah, and then there's audio video settings in there, so that'll give you a menu where you can set these things and some additional options. Go ahead.
Just start with that and let us know if that fixes the problem or not. Yeah. We can go to the next thing. So in the meantime, sorry, I got us a little bit off track.
No, you're good.
What were we talking about? What was I saying?
I don't know, but I was gonna go ahead and go to this community gardening thing while we're here. Okay. So let me share my screen, and let me go here.
Oh, I was going to say that.
You're good. Yeah, go ahead.
About the education, that the government doesn't want a better education. It's a numbers game. Worker bots, right?
Wait, sorry. Hang on a second. I stepped out for a second. I accidentally clicked the wrong part of the map. But yeah, you said they don't want the people educated because it's a numbers game.
Yeah, they just want worker bots. They want a certain small percentage to rise to the top, most of the people to be in the middle, and then he actually needs some people on the bottom too. If they fix the education system, not only do you end up with people that are so high functioning that nobody wants to do the shit jobs anymore, but you end up with the people that are smart enough to see through your bullshit. And then if you have too many people that can see through your bullshit, they're going to unite to start getting along better and quit blaming each other for the shit the government's doing, right? And the government's going to now be held accountable and recognized for the mafia that it is. They cannot risk that. And so if we are going to fix the way people understand the world, then we have to do it outside the context of what the government can control. We cannot fix the public education system for that reason. They will never allow it. So we need to talk about, because the religious people are always talking about privatizing education so that they can turn the private schools into religious indoctrination centers. But we could do the opposite with private education, because with that freedom, we could turn them into, actual education centers where people are taught the shit that they really need to understand about propaganda and sociology, psychology, what human rights are derived from, why we call them that, understand things philosophically and understand things practically. And there's just so many things that they're not going to get from a public school system. And anything that they get even that touches upon it will be wrong. And, the churches anyways would be pissed off, honestly, if people started getting a proper education in public schools, because then people would be able to see through the church bullshit too. Even if you never mentioned religion, people would wake up to it because they'd start being able to reason better. They'd recognize propaganda and manipulation, and they'd say, "Holy shit, yeah, I don't like it when people treat me that way. It's not genuine and it's not upfront, right? They're not. That's not how you should treat other human beings." And then they would go to church and say, "Guess what I learned today, motherfuckers? Guess what I'm pissed at you for now?" Right? And that just ain't gonna work. So they wouldn't want it either. So.
And I almost felt like that was a big part of what happened during the pandemic, which was you set the system up so that you had all these dumb worker bees that would never, have a real chance of threatening for, status or, meaningful competition in the system. But wait, oh shit, now they're so dumb that they are literally, a threat to the public safety. Yeah, exactly. They're falling for QAnon, anti-vax, and the election was stolen and all this shit. And now they throw the system totally, into a tailspin. But you should have thought of that before you. But there's no. Hang on a second. I just want to quickly say that there is actually nobody doing that, right? So we throw they, them, you around a lot, but that's part of the problem too. Is that there is no actual conspiracy here, right? It's the system. Right. So that there's no ability for there to be this forethought, because it acts in spite of who happens to be in any position. Like if you're not willing to do the capitalist machinery, the next person will. Go ahead.
Yeah, if the incentive is there, if the motive and the opportunity are there, the crime's gonna get committed by somebody, right? So you don't need a conspiracy. All you need is for things to align in such a way where it's incentivized for people en masse to behave badly, and then they will. So in the meantime, when shit got really crazy with QAnon and all this other craziness, Trump seized on that and made it worse. And it was working, and so all the other grifters in the Republican Party just kept making it worse. And now they're still trying to do it. They're still doubling down on fake news bullshit, right? They're still pushing crazy conspiracy theories that are just like, holy hell, right? And what they're realizing is that the more they do that, the more they can get away with. The more openly and blatantly they can do serious criminal shit. Look at how many people in the Republican Party right now are proven child sex traffickers, and they're not even at risk of going to jail for it. Right? It's crazy. That couldn't have happened 30 years ago.
Unbelievable.
Now they're realizing that the more you can get weaponized society with this inability to do research and just like believing the craziest evil conspiracy theory bullshit, the more you can just leverage that for political power.
And honestly, I think it starts with religion. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Sure it does. Sure it does. Religion is primary agent for that because they raise people in such a way where people can't tell the difference between fantasy and fiction, right? Or fantasy and reality. They can't tell the difference.
Right.
And so they lack this mental instrumentation.
And they're taught it's okay to believe what you want.
Yeah, and they're also told to defer to authority. And they're also taught to think very tribally in terms of an aggressive totalitarian mindset where there's always enemies that need to be smited and shouldn't even exist because they're in the way of this better kingdom you want to build.
Right.
And so, yeah, religious thinking, Christian religious thinking in this country has really set up our society for fail. And these Republicans are taking advantage of it. Now, I won't say that the people on the left side of that fence don't take advantage of it. They do. And they're partly to blame for the whole thing. I'm not saying they're innocent in it.
Right.
I don't think they ever realized how extreme it would get. You know, they created a monster they can't control now. And now they're like, fuck, what do we do?
Right.
But, you know, here we are. And I don't know what the solution is going to be to it because nobody wants to limit freedom of speech in a certain way where people have to start behaving accountably. And as long as anybody's allowed to say anything without consequence, we're just going to continue to spiral downwards unless we take it into our own hands and say, okay, we need solutions that don't involve the government, right? Our own solution, not just in terms of how we raise kids if we're still parents, but also in terms of the kind of educational system that we try to push in the private sectors, right? And making more education available online too, more easily accessible, verifiable education, because more and more young people are getting their education there, and it's not a government structure, and so there's this war going on in online in terms of the war over minds. We're competing for minds, young minds that are influenced by the things that they read and hear and experience online. And so I think the left is actually better at that sum total overall. Like, I think that we're reaching more people right now. I think that's the reason that religions go to die on the internet, because there's just so much information that religions can't counter sufficiently enough with their bullshit.
Absolutely.
And so many young people are realizing, shit, like, my religion's been lying to me this whole time. Like, Mythvision is just one of the ways that they can find that out. But just everywhere they go, every conversation, every place that they go, when it comes up and the fundamentalists crash with the secular humanist atheists, the secular humanist atheists are the ones that are bringing the facts and the logic. And a lot more people are responding to that now. So, you know, that's one way that we go around the government. We bypass them and say, fuck it, we're going to do it live. We're going to take care of our own shit, right? Because the government ain't going to take care of the shit. Now, the government doesn't want that, and eventually I can see them trying to crack down on it. They watch for that shit. You know what the genius visa is, right? The work visa for geniuses?
No.
So basically, most of our super high-end intellectual labor comes from people that are from other countries who get a special visa called the genius visa that they can come here. And so we're importing our intellectual talent, an awful lot of it. And it's not because Americans are like just naturally stupid. It's because the public education system is designed to fail us intentionally. Right. The government doesn't want to fix that for a lot of reasons. And one of them is, if we import enough of our talent, our high intellect talent from other countries, these people being on a visa means that they're vulnerable. They're smart enough to realize what's going on and to bond together to educate the public, but they dare not, because they're here on a visa. And if they do it, our government will just cancel their damn visa and ship them out. And that's why the government prefers most of its highest intellectual people be here on a leash, right? We don't want to have them come from the American community, because then they're freed to unite if they want to, right?
Right.
Entirely threatening. So that's why they make sure that so much of our brain power comes on a leash from other countries, so those people wouldn't dare unite and help turn the...
No, that makes a lot of sense. So let me use that as a segue to get into this gardening thing.
Oh, yeah.
And as I do that, I'm just going to grab some caffeine myself.
Sounds good.
So let's see. First off, all right, and Obama.
Most apartments in Portland in general, most commercial properties, multifamily properties, the landscaping consists of the minimal, easy to maintain landscape.
Basically, usually just paved parking spaces.
Grass. It's basically, if it's not parking,
community gardens, one way that we can all connect
shrubs,
in a forward-thinking, pro-social way to help build a better tomorrow.
It's kind of a lost opportunity.
Jay will be right back to talk to us about that. Not that I'm sure anybody can help me because I don't, or hear me.
If somebody changed that model, I mean, the place could become like this sort of one giant food forest. Hey, Stephen. Everybody knows everybody, and people eat together and party together and garden together. Hey, Neil. They're actually where we meet each other more than anything else is gardening together.
Honestly, yeah, this squash is kind of, I think...
Looks like you have some sage there,
sage,
or herbs,
I was just about to say, how...
All right, sorry, that was too quiet. And then I don't even know if you can hear that back here.
Yeah, I couldn't hear it back here, so I didn't even realize it was playing until I went to the front page and then
Yeah, sorry.
saw it.
All right, so let's hide that. Let's do that again.
Most apartments in Portland in general, most commercial properties, multifamily properties, the landscaping consists of the minimal, easy to maintain landscape.
Basically, usually just paved parking spaces.
Grass. It's basically, if it's not parking space, it's grass, or there's sprinkling of ornamental
What are we calling
shrubs.
our
They don't produce any fruit or anything.
James, can you hear this?
I can't
no,
hear
because you don't have a Myronbach on. Hang on a sec. Take
So are we calling him? Are we calling him Dank? Calling him Slug? We calling him Timma? What are we calling our friend?
Most apartments in Portland in general, most commercial properties, multifamily properties, the landscaping consists of the minimal, easy to maintain
James?
landscape.
Basically, usually just paved parking spaces.
Grass. It's basically, if it's not parking space, it's grass, or there's a sprinkling of ornamental shrubs. They don't produce any fruit or anything. So, I mean, it's a tragedy. It's a kind of a lost opportunity. If somebody changed that model, I mean, the place could become like this sort of one giant food forest. Hey, Stephen. Everybody knows everybody, and people eat together and party together and garden together. Hey, Neil. They're actually where we meet each other more than anything else is gardening together.
Honestly, yeah, this squash is kind of, I think...
Looks like you have some sage there,
sage,
or herbs.
I was just about to say, I always want to call it lavender for some reason, but it's sage.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I've been in Portland since the 1990s, and we've been on the sustainability trip, but it's all been sort of individual family, household doing gardening and composting and things like that.
Have a good one.
Eventually, we wanted to develop a community. So this seemed like a great place to try this out. It was a kind of a rundown apartment building back in 2007. Imagine 14 or 15 years ago, this was a giant parking lot, and there was just crew-cut grass on either side of that. So when we started, the grounds were totally bare. Okay, grass, we're talking grass, pavement, and a few ornamental shrubs that were pretty pathetic. No fruits or anything like that. So let's walk into the circular garden. But it had a big space for garden. So right here is the center, and what makes a circular garden so unique is that from this one point you can irrigate a vast area very, very easily. This space is gardened by our group gardens program. We have about 20 families gardening together and growing things that you wouldn't normally grow in your own individual garden plot. For example, squashes. You can see a lot of space is taken up by squash, and you wouldn't have that space to do something like that in your own garden. Okay, we have carrots and peppers, sunflowers, chard, cabbage, cauliflower, and broccoli. You can kind of see the fruit trees here. Look at the fruit trees, they're just totally loaded. These are the ground falls that we picked up so far, and they may look a little dubious, but actually these are great for apple pies, apple sauce. You can dry these too if you wanted to. So we get a huge bounty of fruits here.
And you planted all these?
We planted all these, yeah, right. So when we started out, this was just grass here in the planting strips. And from here up to the building was a parking lot in the middle, and then grass and gravel on each side. There were a few ornamental shrubs right at the base of the building, but it was essentially just a big, open, kind of dead space. And you can see once you depave, we depaved the parking lot there, and now it's a fabulous garden, right?
So did you buy?
So we bought it, yeah. So we worked with a bank. You gotta convince a bank to put the money behind, because it's a huge investment. This was $1.7 million. This was considered a kind of a high-risk investment, so they required a 30% down payment. Behind you, I wanted to point out that this is our intersection repair. So 2 years ago in August, we got together as a community. We closed the street at both ends, and then we painted this pollinator-themed street painting. That's one of the fun community projects. Builds community. We learned a lot of our neighbors. We had a lot of our neighbors that we'd never met before. Really a great community building project. So we need a garden space, because that's key to permaculture, is having some space where you can plant different things, trees and annual plants and things like that. So we decided to utilize one of the local organizations called Depave. Depave, their mission is to remove parking lots and turn those spaces into garden spaces. So we worked with them. We had probably 40 volunteers here one day, and we pried up all the asphalt and hauled it off. We filled up like 9 dumpsters full of asphalt. Then we discovered a gravel layer and actually a house foundation underneath. You never know what you're going to find when you depave some space, but undaunted, we continued on. We removed the house foundation, removed all the gravel, and started gardening. And this is 10 years later or so. The soil is very fertile. We probably created this much topsoil on top of the previously just bare areas. So I mentioned we depaved this space. One of the amazing things, this was parking lot right here. We discovered this old concrete pond that was hidden under the pavement and long forgotten. So when we discovered this, we decided we'd remodel it. And look at what we've got now, these gorgeous cattails out of a pond that was essentially hidden and buried under the pavement for probably 50 years, that we then unearthed and now returned back to pond. It's a beauty, it's a water feature, but it also is a mud source for a certain...
All right, James, what are you thinking about this so far? Uh-oh. Did I lose James? AR, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, what are you thinking about this so far?
Well, I actually had to dip. I forgot I got a family deal to take care of. So.
Are you leaving now? All right.
Yeah. I'll be back later today.
All right, I'll see you later.
Yeah, catch you later.
Thanks, Slug. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, they're sticking to just text.
Got it. Got it. I can.
They can hear you.
Yeah. Okay.
See ya.
Awesome. And then maybe James just stepped away for a minute. No worries. All right, let's go ahead, keep playing this.
Insects that use mud to create their homes, like mason bees and mud dauber wasps. Also swallows use mud to make their mud nests. So this is a perpetual source of mud that they can tap into. Now behind this is our well. So you'll see that little square structure with the living roof. We actually have a 100-foot well there that we've drilled, that we tap into the aquifer underneath, that we replenish with the rainfall. Rather than using cisterns to store rainwater, we use the earth as our cistern and then tap it.
Yeah, we'll see you later. Don't forget, we got AEW pay-per-view tonight that we will be watching and gather. And yeah, I'm excited about that.
With a well. It percolates into the ground, into this gigantic aquifer under the city of Portland, and then we tap into that. So we're replenishing the water that falls on the property here by keeping it in place. When we started this project, the driveway and the roof were sent into the sanitary sewer. So we were exporting rainwater to the City Bureau of Environmental Services, which then had to treat that when it's mixed with sewage. A big problem. We've avoided that problem, or remedied that problem, really by keeping the water on site, percolating it into the ground, and replenishing the aquifer that we draw from. So the rain is drained to each side of the building. You'll see a pipe coming from that side. That channels all the rainwater from the north side of the building to that center, and then it comes across, and then it's conveyed through these rain chains to fall around us here. So the building is split down the center. It's a kind of a gable roof. And so we get about 150,000 gallons that land on the north side of the roof. There's another 150 from the south side. So the building itself probably contributes 300,000 gallons. This is the north side rainwater, and because it goes through small orifices in front to channel it to the rain chains and other places, it's important to keep sediment, leaves and things out. So what this does is it catches these leaves. Look, how did a peanut get up on the roof? But so several times a year, we'll go through and clean the filters out. And basically you just tap them like that. And that way it keeps that material out of the rainwater chains, which would clog them. And you can put it back again. So whenever it rains, there are 3 waterfalls on this side of the building.
What are you doing? I'm restoring the rainwater creek, we call it. You see, the stone path, it goes all the way to the big swale. And it starts up here. When it rains, you see the downspout. So the water goes down and comes out here in that stump. And then it starts to run all the way down there. So it's fun to come out here when there's a downpour.
When we started, we had contemplating going into a co-housing, which is a condominium model. You co-own the place with a bunch of other people. The problem with that is we kind of do things a little bit radical, like human manure composting our pee and poop. This is the basis for our fertility, and we figured your typical co-housing community would not necessarily go for that. This is what we call the additive for our compost toilets. So we're importing carbon from the city, which normally would go in the landfill. Believe it or not, some people put this in the landfill. And yet this is exactly what you need to balance the high nitrogen inputs from urine and kitchen compost and excreta poop. Excrement, toilet paper, and additive are what we compost to create fertility and till.
All right.
So let me.
And everybody has a compost toilet.
No.
Yeah.
So There's probably about a dozen of us who use the Ecological Sanitation Project. Every unit.
James, were you not with the Ecological Sanitation Project?
No, not really. I'm not feeling it.
Well, that's why they didn't do the condominium model. You know?
I mean, if I did a whole lot of scientific research on it, like I might have an opinion about it, but would I want to work with it? No. Would I want to eat the stuff from that? Probably not either. So
because of the poop is a great source of composting, right? This is sort of like the there's a legendary tales about this in anthropology departments, right? Where people go and they decide, all right, we're gonna help modernize this place and bring them a bunch of fertilizer or say tractors or stuff like that. And what they don't realize is that they rob the people of using manure as a source of fertilizer, right? So it's a no-go. But it's usually livestock, like their livestock, right? Yeah. So it's really interesting.
Unit, generally speaking, has a toilet in it, and some people will supplement with a bucket of wood chips and then a lovable loo next to it. And this is a typical one-bedroom unit right here. So it's about 565 square feet, consists of this living area and a kitchen, and there's our bedroom. And then we also have the bathroom in here. And what's unique about our bathroom is we have a compost toilet in it. This is normally where the toilet goes right here, this hole that's covered in the floor. We've removed that because we have our own compost toilet here. And this is what a compost toilet looks like. This is called the lovable loo. It's a 5-gallon bucket that you pee and poop into.
James is like, no.
If you're willing to save your urine separately, that's even better, and that's what I do. So I have my own pee bottle here. I just pee into my bottle. And my wife pees into her bottle using this contraption. So you see there's a little bottle there and a funnel.
Right down in there. Thanks, buddy. Fuck me.
I know.
Bend over. Let him see the hole that comes out of real quick.
I'm with the communal living. I don't know, but this is the thing with all of these, because of the fact that there is that difference, right, in how far we're all willing to go, right? Like I remember one time thinking about talking to a community of hippies about living with them, and then they were like, yeah, we're into dumpster diving, so we can read. And I was like, nope, I'm out. You
never know what you might find in them dumpsters.
This is the herding cats thing about our side, right? All right, y'all. So look, we're gonna talk more about community gardening, but I gotta eat real quick. So we're gonna totally change gears real quick so I could stomach my food. All right, but this is a Black Cat's voice. She's got a few of these episodes. I don't know what we're gonna have to do to pull Cat off the bench to start making more content, but we'll check out the few episodes that we have. So this one's called "Burn That Bridge." I definitely think this is something we should be thinking about. So let's listen to this. I'm gonna get my food. I'll be right back.
Hey, my lovely people. Welcome back to A Black Cat's Voice. I'm your host, Kat, here with a brand new episode for your beautiful, wonderful, lovely listening ears. Now, before I speak on tonight's topic, I just want to say thank you, yes, you, who is listening right in this moment. Thank you for being here, because I really realized that there's a lot of podcasts out there, there's a lot of people out there. You could be doing anything with your time right now, but you're giving me a couple of moments of your most precious gift, which is time. And you're listening to me. And I really, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate that. So thank you so much for being here. And just know I love having you guys here. I really, really do. So let's talk, y'all. Let's get into it. So I want to talk about why you should burn that bridge. Yeah, I said it, y'all. Burn that bridge. Now, I know a lot of times y'all hear, those expressions, oh, you shouldn't burn bridges. Oh, don't burn that bridge. You might need it later. Whatever the case may be. I want to tell you right here, right now, sometimes you need to burn that bridge. For real. Like, some bridges really need to be burned because some roads lead nowhere. So, before I get into, my points on why this is true, on why, I feel the way that I feel, I just want to state once again that I am nobody's teacher but my own. So if you take anything away from listening to me, if you feel like any of this is advice that resonates in your life, I am thankful, I am grateful, but always understand, I'm not your mama. I am not here to tell you what to do. Okay? I just speak on my experiences and the knowledge and wisdom that I have received based on how my life has gone, based on my observations, based on my research. So just understand, I'm never sitting here trying to tell you what to do, how to do it, nothing like that. You feel me? This is just really, for me, this is conversation. Let's talk about some things. So let's talk about it, y'all. Why you need to burn that bridge. So first things first, you got a lot of people out here who are following others who don't even know where they're going. You have a lot of people who really don't realize that it's the blind leading the blind, but you got to think about it. How can anybody tell if somebody's blind if they're blind themselves? You feel me? And I don't mean blind, obviously, physically. I mean blind, like just spiritually or intellectually, however you want to take it, because certain things you really don't know and you really can't comprehend until you know. You really cannot understand certain things just about life itself until you really receive that, that experience and whatever that lesson is to teach you things that you don't think it's true. You don't, maybe hope it's true. For a fact, this is what it is. And a lot of people, especially, with social media and all this other nonsense, you have so many people who really think that they're leaders and they don't realize that they're not going nowhere themselves. You feel me? And how can you truly be a leader if you don't even know where you're going? Like, I really genuinely don't believe in taking advice from people I don't want to be like. I know sometimes there's instances where it's like right message, wrong messenger. But for me, if it's the wrong messenger, like, sometimes I don't even want to hear what you got to say because I don't want to be like you. So I'm not going to even waste my time trying to listen to you or trying to figure out, if what you have to say is correct for my life, because that's not your job. That's my job. It's nobody's job to tell me what to do in my life. It's my job to figure it out for myself. So I just really don't understand, like, why do people take advice from people they don't want to be like? I did a whole episode on this in season 3, episode 9. And I just really want you guys to understand that listening to anything anybody tells you can be very detrimental to your life. Like, you really got to be careful because a lot of people, especially celebrity-wise, are not who they appear to be. A lot of people are telling you to do stuff that they don't even do themselves. So it's like, what's really going on? Like, perfect example, a lot of people want to be a boss, want to be a hustler, like Rick Ross. Y'all know Rick Ross, the rapper. But did you know he used to be a correctional officer? Google it. Don't believe me. Another example, you have people like Cardi B. I'm not a fan, never been a fan, never will be a fan. But you have Cardi B, and you have a lot of people who not only follow her, you have young girls who try to be like her and let their kids, listen to her. But did you know there are videos of Cardi B turning off her own music when her daughter walks into the room? So if she don't let her daughter listen to her own music, why are you letting your daughter listen to her music? You feel me? I'm not telling you what to do. I'm literally just asking questions. I just want to make you guys think about some things. Hey, my lovely people. I just wanted to take a second to brag about how cool Anchor is. So I've been using Anchor to do my podcast for a little over 2 years now, and I really love this platform. It's easy to use.
Whoops.
You can use
a lot
it right
of y'all
on your
need to be using that Anchor,
or even on your smartphone.
I know you're trying to do a podcast.
They have so many tools in place.
I know you think you got your little podcast ideas out there, y'all.
Like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the list goes on.
Go ahead, get
and did I mention the best part, you guys? It's free. So go ahead and download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm.
Also, Uncle Bobby uses Anchor. So boom. Look at me adding value to these promos.
So another thing I really need you guys to understand is that not all bridges lead to good destinations. And when I say a bridge, I'm using this as a metaphor for, a job, a person, a place. Let me just break it down for you guys so I can be specific and clear on what I mean. So, perfect example for a job, if you've been at a certain job for years, you've been going for a promotion, you are a hard worker, you're consistent, your attendance is good and everything else. And within that company, you see people on lower levels, people who might have came in after you, people who might have less experience than you do. You see them get that same promotion that you have been working your ass off for years for. You feel me? It's really like if a job keeps showing you how they feel about you and how they don't value you, why do you keep going back to that job? You really got to know your worth. Now, I'm not saying quit your job, obviously we all got to make money out here. Some of us have to do things we don't necessarily favor to make and earn that money. But I'm just saying long term, you got to do what makes you happy. This job that is taken away from your mental health, from your physical health, from time you could be spending with your family. Like, why keep going and keep working, working yourself to the bone for a job that doesn't even appreciate you?
And this is a thing that is kind of difficult for me because I've most of the time found myself in favorable employment. Matter of fact, most of the time I've pretty much come close to having either the job I want or close to it. And even now with my academic career, I'm incredibly lucky. And there are things I don't like about my job and days I don't like my job. And certainly, oh Lord, do I feel underappreciated. But that's because I'm trying to do something radically different with my job than everybody else does with my job. So it's more of a product of the fact that I'm trying to march to the beat of my own drum rather than anybody's treating me funny, right? But my job makes me feel incredibly valued and encouraged and, trying to promote me and all of that type of stuff. So I say that to say that that's something a lot of people need to definitely think about because it comes for me, yeah, lucky, sure. I would never deny that. But part of it is different priorities to where, growing up, my dad even more so than my mom, really taught me to focus on, like, your life is rich if you do things with your time that you really value doing with your time. And he said, you know, I'll never be, you know, my dad told me, like, I'll never be a wealthy man, right? But I've lived a rich life because of the unbelievable things I've been able to do and who I've been able to do it with. And that's my thing, right? I'm always looking for something I can't say no to. You know, when you guys see me and Cliff meeting in the huddle, we're really into that shit. You know, it might sound like nerdy programmers talking about some science experiments, but, you know, this is the game to us. This is how you push the edge of the leading questions in our field or whatever the fuck. But it's a huge area of mental health, and it's kind of like being in an abusive relationship, right? It's like, you know, I try not to take advantage of the support and encouragement I have in my career, but at the same time, you kind of have to. But yeah, it's, you know, if you're spending 8, 10 more hours a day in a toxic environment, like, that wouldn't be okay as a social environment. You see what I'm saying? But it's just how you extract your resources so you can feed yourself. You do need to do what you need to do so you can continue to feed yourself, but you need to get the fuck up out that relationship quickly. You know, even my situation is a little bit insecure because it's limited. You know, I only have another year and a half left, right? I have next semester, next year, and then I gotta find another job. But you know what I mean? Like, when I reflected on grad school, even though you don't get paid a lot, and don't get me wrong, y'all think, if y'all scientists, we just don't get paid a lot. Let's just put it that way. We don't even need to have a whole dialogue about it. You just don't get paid a lot. But, you know, I had the same job. I worked at the same place for basically 8 to 10 years when I was in grad school. And it was kind of beautiful because it was a remarkable amount of stability in my life. So it's definitely something that I think people need to start to see as important as a partnership or a marriage or having a toxic friend group, because that's a huge chunk of your life. And at the same time, if there's something that you do enjoy doing, just understand that everybody has something about their job they don't like. Be it you're a professor like me and you don't like grading, just fucking hate grading, and I fucking hate meetings. And unfortunately, our lives are filled with too much grading, and we just can't escape the fucking merry-go-round of fucking meetings that are our schedules. And if you work in the service sector, you got to cut them fucking limes or clean down the back line of shit from customers, or ice cream or coffee grinds or whatever the fuck it is, you know. But if there's something about that job that you do value. Like, I remember when I served tables, when I worked at a couples only resort serving tables, I fucking loved that job. And that's what I mean is, like, hang on to the part of your job that you do love, because just because you have to do some shitty parts of your job doesn't mean you have a shitty job. Right? When I grade for my students, I don't sit there and go, oh, I fucking hate this job because I have to grade. I go, I fucking hate grading, right? But I have to grade because I have this unbelievable job. It's an unbelievable opportunity to be these students' instructor. And yes, that means I have to grade, right? You know what I mean? Like, and I remember, like, when I served tables, like, I knew I was, you know, relatively young in life, but that it was a good job. There were people who were older and had families and shit and did the same job. And I was like, damn, like, have a job as a teenager you could feed a family with. That's pretty cool. You know, like I don't know if I want to do it at that stage in my life, but it's pretty cool. And then I got to serve people, like just serving, right? You learn that serving is a skill. It's like performing, right? You have a little 8 top of 4 couples every night, and that's your stage. Them 8 people are looking to you to have a good experience and help them through the evening, usually sitting around 3 couples they don't know. So you flip it. Right? My job isn't necessarily I'm nervous about my food service. It's like you're going to have dinner with 3 couples you never met before. I'm about to make it easy on you. Right? Just because I can, you know, lighten the mood a little bit, make sure everybody's comfortable, you know, you make things, you know, little shit like that. And then I worked with some fucking cool ass people, you know, so every shift was about who's on that shift with you. You know, what are y'all gonna do? You know, and then we made pretty good money, right? For teenagers, you know, the numbers aren't quite important, but you know, most teenagers make minimum wage or near it. You know, we made, you know, like $10 an hour back in the early 2000s or whatever as some teens. So it was a nice job, right? And then we got time and a half for like fucking holidays and overtime and shit like that. And they fed us, right? We worked at a resort, so we got to eat resort food on shift. So it was just like a good job. And, you know, it's cool sometimes to just be like, I have a decent job. I work with some cool ass people, or I work for some cool ass people. My bills is paid, it's all good. So it's just a very interesting thing to think about in sense of burning that bridge where it goes both ways. It's the same thing in a relationship. You know, you might be in a relationship with a great person, but that doesn't mean everything about that relationship is great. Some of those things need to be improved upon, and some of those things are just accepting that that's a different human being that you're trying to make a life with, and they're gonna always have different interests. You know, in my reality, it's shit like they ain't never gonna be a wrestling fan. They're an atheist. You're happy to be with an atheist if you're me, right, James? Mm-hmm. Guess what that means?
What?
They ain't ever gonna like going to church. Right? It be like that sometimes, right? You gotta accept what comes with that, right? You got somebody that understands you. Yeah, but now that thing you do, you play church music for 4 hours a day, because they ain't really with all that. Right. You know, so what you do, you practice and you tell them, hey, if you want to come over later, I'll be finished around this time. You know, and it just is what it is. But this is all interesting to think about, and when not to, and again, it all comes back to my family and friends, man. My church is on some straight Jesus cult shit, right? But they just reasonable enough and just cool enough. They're wonderful people, and you could get through a lot of them. A lot of them really do understand where you're coming from. They just ain't never heard it before. It'd be like that for people. People in my family, they're not really toxic, awful people. They just ain't really, they're new to the game. I hate to say it. They just don't know shit. You know what I mean? They're unaware of what they're unaware of, essentially. Right. But it's a lot of other people where you just gotta decide enough is enough, you know? You know, people know that's where I got to with Doug. I was just like, yep, done. Time to burn that bridge, the moat, the life rafts, all of that shit.
Good enough.
The bridge and any other means to the other side we may have been keeping around.
You feel me?
Right.
Like, I understand having to stay, you know, in certain situations because you're figuring it out. But I'm just saying, you know, go to school for something. Try a new hobby. You know, apply for something else. Because just because one job may belittle you and mistreat you, there's always another job that will lift you up, will build you, will promote you, and will really do the things that they say they're going to do. You feel me? So, you really got to know your worth. Another example of a bridge that might need to be burned is certain places. You feel me? Like some of y'all, you know, I've had this experience myself. There was this restaurant I used to really enjoy going to, you know, because they had really good food. Really, to me, it was reasonably priced and whatnot. But as time went by, I started to notice a change. You know, I noticed the prices went up. And the prices went up. I understand inflation and stuff like that, but these prices like skyrocketed. And on top of the prices skyrocketing, when I went, the customer service was just horrible. You know, like they're always rude. You know, they're always forgetting something in my order, getting my order wrong. And then me, I don't play about my money. So if I pay for it, it better be right. So I'm not going to be rude or anything like that. But I'll, you know, correct or attempt to correct their mistake. And then they would give me attitude. And for a couple of times, just because of convenience, I kept going back to this place until finally I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I could be spending my money somewhere else. You know, I don't have to deal with this. I don't have to be mistreated. And I don't have to pay for things that are overpriced when you're getting it wrong. You're giving me attitude. Like, this is not a good experience for me. You feel me? So I burned that bridge and I stopped going there. I haven't been there since my last bad experience. And that's a perfect example of, you know, a place that is a metaphor for a bridge that really needed to be burned. You know, the last example I want to use, it can be people. You know, it can really be people in your life who are just so toxic. You know, I see a lot of couples in toxic relationships, you know, toxic situations, always fighting with each other, always cheating on each other. And it literally gets to the point, in my opinion, where it's like, why do you keep going back? You know, if you know your ex does nothing but cheat on you, mistreat you, belittle you, betray you, hurt you, why do you keep going back to that? You know, nothing's gonna change until you know your worth. Know your worth, people. Burn that bridge. Like, lastly, I just want to say, for anybody out there who may be like me, you know, sometimes you're just looking for a sign, allow Kat to tell you, this is your sign. This is it. Burn that bridge. You know, life is going to hurt us enough. We don't need to be hurting ourselves. Why keep going down a path if you know that road only leads to destruction? Burn that bridge. Burn that motherfucking bridge and don't take your ass back over there. In my black mama voice, excuse my language, some things just have to be said sometimes. Burn that bridge, y'all. If you know you better than that, then show me. Forget showing me, show yourself your true worth. Because if it's one thing in this life, you gotta know your worth. And I believe not just know your worth, but add tax, honey. Okay? Burn that bridge, baby. And as always, thank you for listening. Take care.
This is James, I don't know if you got something playing in the background. I can hear it a little bit. Oh, it might be Slug. I don't know. Something. I'll hear something through the background. Yeah. All right. So the thing I want to bring up. What's up, Nerdy? Good to see you, man. I always appreciate a black cat's voice. Her podcasts are always fire. I think she's taking a little break right now, but hopefully there'll be more. And if not, we've at least got some more episodes to go through, and an entire back catalog because she's got a lot of stuff before I discovered her. But this is such a very, very, very interesting topic. bridge burning, who to burn, when to burn, why to burn, and how to burn. but yeah, man, she said so many things I want to touch on. All right, so number one, looking for your sign. Let's start there. This is it, folks. There's certain things in life that are never going to be easy, but you nevertheless have to do. And sometimes the impetus just has to be, I need to do this. I need to say this. I need to get this off my chest. So for me, a lot of the things that I've taken on lately, it's more like, if you're not going to do this now, then when are you going to do this? So, perfect example being, different things with my family. Well, a lot of it was like, if I'm not going to do it, if you're not going to do it when you're a counter-apologist, if you're not going to do it when you've got, you're an evolutionary biologist and, you're a PhD and all of this, and, you and your friends sit around, doing counter-apologetics on a daily, shit, if you can't come out as a fucking atheist, then who the fuck can? Mm-hmm. And so, again, you're not religious anymore, fam, right? So we're not going to ever get that, oh, this is a sign from God. Yeah, when I flipped you over in the car 4 times and then you went down into the tumbleweeds, and then the medics came with the jaws of life, but then they discovered you and you had but a couple scratches on you, and then you said, today is the day that I have to be my fullest self. I have to let it out. I have to let my light shine bright. Like, nigga, we atheists. That shit ain't gonna happen, dog. So look, you just gonna have to decide that you sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? and that you got a little crew that's gonna support you. So if this goes well, you're gonna have some people to celebrate with. And if they rough you up, you're gonna have some people to pick you up. Now, let's get on to it. And that's an important part of saying, a lot of us are here to support you, but that's all we could do. We're here to talk about these things, but that's as much as we can give you. And some of us are living our truth. That's kind of the thing where, I wouldn't encourage people to do something if I didn't think it was a good thing to do. Right. So sometimes I'll be talking about what you should do, what you should say, who you coming out to, and we talk about, oh, it's so hard. But, I got to be honest with you, it's so much better on the other side, right? Like, it's really nice to, have Christian friends that know you're an atheist, and then you can have some of those more meaningful conversations. It's nice to have Christian family members that you can actually, once in a while vent about your frustrations to, and they won't reject you. Or like I talked about where I lost a friend, and, I have, my mom trying to make sure she doesn't use religious language in trying to console me. Now, I'm not the type of person that if somebody uses religious language as a expression of consolation or a way to grieve, I'm going to jump down their throat because it's not important. But it is really nice when you notice that accommodation, right? So imagine going to your grandmother or your auntie or whoever you think would never accept you, and then y'all have the conversation, and it's a little hard or a little awkward, right? But then the next time you deal with them, you notice when they send you a message, they just send you something positive. They sent you a positive fucking quote instead of a positive scripture. they say, that you come over and they say hello, it's nice to see you, and the next time they start, and you start to realize, holy shit, this person is trying to relate to me now based on what they know about me. You know what I mean? So it's like you said, they may surprise you. You said that the other day, I think, right? You never know who's going to surprise you, but you'll never know unless you try. And so my point is just, you're never going to get that sign, really, right? You got to kind of take it as you've got the friends, you've had the thoughts, it's come up in conversation in your community. I ain't even going to say, I'm going to tell you all the way the truth, y'all. I'll be using y'all as an excuse sometimes. If you ain't got no courage, use your friends for some false courage. That's what friends are for, right? So let me tell you let me give you a couple examples. James, I used you one time as an example for some courage. Like just something simple. Okay, you could say something like, here's an example I've said, so my friend James, got into a back and forth with one of our Christian friends or one of the Christians we know because, how did I put it? Because he wrote a blog about how Christian indoctrination is child abuse. Now, what she didn't understand was that this wasn't personal. He wasn't saying this is James trying to attack Rebecca. He was saying this is how atheists feel about Christian indoctrination. And that got me thinking about how, when we raise up our children in the way that they should go, insert Christian language, we have to really think about, is that the way that they should go? Right? Now, notice how I just broached the conversation with this family member, friend, or whoever I'm having this conversation with, right? But I use my community as an excuse. And I say that in a way that's playful, but it's legit, right? Think about how you might want to do some freaky shit with your partner, right? But you never know how to bring it up, right? Now, if somebody at work starts talking to you about some freaky shit they did when they had a threesome and they're married, right? You're going to be like, damn. And they be like, oh, yeah, my partner, we said we should try it once in a while together or once in a life, YOLO, roll the dice. So we did it and it was fun, blah, 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 blah. Now you pull up on your partner over dinner, right? And you be like, so how do you feel about having a threesome, right? Now, when they start choking on their chick, well, why would you, what do you mean, right? All you say is, well, I was sitting around a cooler and Gary said that, him and his wife had a threesome this weekend. So, we've never talked about it. I was just wondering, since, how you feel about it, right? Like, you just used Gary to bring it up, right? All you did was use his shit, fucking Gary, right? But think about it from your partner's perspective. Mm-hmm. They're now ready to have a conversation. Why? Because once they start choking on their chicken, they realize, oh, well, if your coworker brought it up around the water cooler, it's a perfectly natural to say, James, I can hear the stream in the background. Yeah, you're good. But basically, like once they start the conversation, it's like they realize that is a plausible deniability sort of way to go about it, right? Because you're really just relaying an interesting conversation you had at work. And so I think some of us that feel these are tough conversations to have, I think the fact that you are in a community where these topics get brought up is itself a good enough reason for you to talk about it. Mm-hmm. Oh, shit, I was hanging around, me and my friends were having this conversation about religion, and it made me think about my family. Wouldn't you know it?
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I feel you on that one. Absolutely. So, and I appreciate you bringing that up, too. So, and I didn't really think of it as courage at the time, but now that you think about it, I'm like, yeah, because there's fallout, right? There's grief. I knew as soon as I wrote that blog and let her and then shared that blog with her, that she was gonna like bring some drama about it. I knew she was, but I knew that the community needed to have that drama. I knew that we needed to have those discussions, right? And maybe I should have just brought it to my own channel, but I hadn't started it yet. If you recall, I had not started my channel yet, and that's the only thing I did wrong. I think I should have just brought it to my channel and then invited her to join us. Instead, I waited for her to start it, and she was not fair about it.
Sure.
But, I still think I came out good in the end of it. Like, the second half of it's when I really came back, and I'm like, no, here's how it is. And it didn't go the way she wanted it to, but, it's whatever. These things have to happen. So I don't have to necessarily have family to come out to, right? And I realize that takes a certain kind of courage. But, I could be courageous in my own way. And so, we all got our battles to fight, and we all got to pick and choose which ones we're going to invest in. And sometimes there's risk. There just is.
There just is. Yeah, there really is. And you're absolutely right, because that's the thing about me that I recognize in that situation. It wasn't about her. And, we could criticize Rebecca all day, but she's not a genuine person, right? So I don't, and all I want to say is I don't think we're being cruel to sort of be dismissive of her response, because we all know it was tactics, right? So, her tactical response was just that, her tactical response. But it was a bigger conversation. So, I even think of it as, to put it more bluntly, there's a sort of stream envy and encouragement. It was sort of like, damn, I've been wanting to talk about this as child abuse. Matter of fact, to be honest with you, James, it really harkened back to my original motivation, right? Like I said, sometimes your friends minister to you and vice versa. But when I really got into Counter-Apologetics, and I only showed a bit of it, and again, I probably need to show the whole thing, but a big part of it was that second Bill Nye Ken Ham debate. And I probably just need to dedicate some time to getting through it. But it's like, there's a point where Ken Ham deliberately shifts the tactics, and he does it early and often, and Bill Nye kind of ignores it until he can't, where basically Ken Ham basically keeps telling, like, oh, and you want to tell these children they're blah, 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 and you want to tell these children they're da-da-da-da-da, right? And I finally realized this is child abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Because, first off, it's actually Ken Ham who wants to lie to children. And on top of that, he wants to use the education of children sort of as this, false flag or whatever, right, to call out the other side, which is particular, right? It's like you telling the children, I'm going to save you from the boogeyman in your closet, and then you come out and fucking chop them up at night, right?
Right.
and then to do that so strategically, right? And then the fact that you have fraud, right? Like, where what Ken Ham to me is guilty of is defrauding the public, literally the state of Kentucky or whatever the fuck it is where the Ark Park is. I forget which one. I think it's Kentucky. But it's like, they lied to them. They tried to have it, inappropriate, right? They basically tried to treat it as a museum. No, you can't register this as a museum because it's not a museum. Oh, okay, we'll register it as an attraction or a theme park. Then we'll call it a museum. We'll lie about its economic and job creation potential just to get tax breaks, not deliver on said potential or commitments. It's a whole scam. So you committed a scam deliberately to lie to children. It's just not child abuse. It just doesn't, it just is. And then it's like, again, with your onward Christian soldier bravado, we have the footage. You just did it. You literally walked Bill Nye, the science guy, through your facility for 2 hours and did the Trump thing where the evidence is all over the footage. You got the Bible study kids group right there when we watching you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And all your, and again, like, you built this whole place to do this. This whole fucking contraption, this whole, boat that doesn't float is itself it is the evidence. What do you mean? Why else would you build this nonsense if not, right? So to me, it was like, to tie it all together, that was one of the things that enraged me and made me say there's something else going on here. Why is that critical? Because that was me going far beyond evolutionary biology. That's me saying, whoa, this is far beyond. We have different interpretations of the origins of man or the natural history of the planet. No. This is down to you're accusing me of being on some mafio criminal conspiracy type shit to lie to children, and I'm accusing you of the same goddamn shit. And I would, boy, one of us is really hoping they get their day in court. Right? Really hoping we get to have this out, right? And I've even thought about derailing my whole academic everything for it, right? Because I have the evolutionary biology background to say I'm the guy, and I have the interest in law and politics to say I'm the guy. I've even thought about saying, man, let me just knock out a law degree real quick. Let me just sacrifice 3 more years just so I could, because I'll get somebody to give me some sort of fucking scholarship or whatever the fuck, right? Live on the cheap for a few more years, and then boom, class action, this bitch, let's go. Now I don't think I'm going to do that. But I'd love to work with somebody who has that motivation, and I definitely, but that was the day I saw it, and that's how far I saw it. I was like, yup. I see the right person just taking this bitch all the way. Just like the Trump prosecutors are like, oh, no, I'm coming for you, motherfucker. Like, oh, no. I woke up this morning with taking your ass down on my brain for breakfast. No, I'm really about that. So what is my point? I didn't even know you existed when I felt that way. Mm-hmm. Right? This was before, any of y'all knew who the fuck I was. I was just a motherfucker sitting here watching the fucking Ken Ham versus Bill Nye debate going, oh, no. This is some real sinister shit right here. Right? So, again, I meant what I said when I said it wasn't about how James felt about Rebecca. It was about how atheists feel about Christianity. And it remains the case. And so it is true that, I needed to hear that for my own self, and it didn't have anything to do with her. But yeah, I've definitely gotten courage from the community like that. I've used, I used Uncle Bobby's 1K as a celebration to drop some content on some family. Oh, I just wanted to show off my co-host that, just had this big accomplishment, but that allows you to test the waters to where they're at with the tone, right? Mm-hmm. There's been a number of examples like that. So why do I say that? Sometimes you just got to go with what you can do. It's almost like people talk about what's the right way to break up with somebody. Well, now look, if you're gonna ask me, I'm going to try to tell you the most pro-social thing possible. You need to pony on up over there, tell them we need to talk, sit them down, and lay out your case, and, let them make their appeals, because y'all have been in this thing together for all these weeks, months, years, whatever it is, right? Decades. Mm-hmm. And that's the quote-unquote best way you could do it under the most ideal circumstances. But let's keep it 100. If you was under the most ideal circumstances, you wouldn't be breaking up with this motherfucker. Right? So it's already some shit going on. Right. You know, and then at the end of the day, that's just a tough conversation. So if the only way you could have it is via email, via text, via a lawyer serving them paperwork at work while you move out, right? Then do what the fuck you got to do, right? You know what I mean? And that's all I'm saying is if something's going to make it easier for you to do what you got to do, then that's just what it is, you know. And you can't be always worried. And so sometimes, and here's where I'm going with this, y'all, because I think Kat is bringing up something that's very important here. It's time to, you got to know when it's time to cut people off, right? But a lot of times people in your life, I think, don't need to be cut off. But the issue is you can't keep up whatever it is that's going on now. If what's going on now is you hiding part of who you are, you staying silent about certain things, you having to be around activities, discussions that make you uncomfortable. I'm going to be honest with you. Even just shit like having you pray, I got to be honest with you. We all do it. We all are kind of like okay with it, right? I'll tell you, look, you know, when I'm playing with the worship team, do we bow our heads and pray before we do? Yes. Does it bother me? No. Am I getting to a point where I feel differently about that if I go home to my family? Yes. Why? Because it really isn't appropriate to be asking the atheists in your life to bow their heads and pray to your God. Facts. It's just not. It just isn't. It just isn't. Just the same way if they roll up on Allah Akbar's house and he was like, yo, we're going to bow our heads to pray to Allah, they'd be like, can I politely decline? Because I love Jesus. Right? And they say if you're a good Muslim friend, then, you know, you will respect that when I'm in your house, I don't worship your God. So now, if you want to sit here and just, we both have a quiet moment of Thanksgiving before we eat, and you pray your way and I pray mine, fine. But they're definitely not going to just act like it's okay to just bow their head and pray to a God they don't believe in. They're not going to do it. Right. They're just not going to do it. So why is it okay to ask you to do that? I'm going to be honest. Because you will is why it's okay. That's why I'm just keeping it real with y'all. That's my opinion. My opinion is the reason they think it's okay and they will do it every single time is because you will. Just flat out because you will. What do you think, James?
Yeah, it's just bullying. It's just what can they make you do? And if they're pretty sure they can make you do a thing where you're disrespecting yourself, then they will. So if you're disrespecting yourself and they're getting extra respect that they're not due, that's a form of vampirism. They're extracting something as important as respect from you to them, right? So they're leeching off of something from you. So you end up with less respect for yourself and less respect from them, and they end up with more, like a bonus, like a big, you know, an excess amount that they didn't earn, they didn't have coming, just because they feel entitled to it. That's an aggressive form of disrespect, and it's exploitative. And they know that they can get away with it because of the power differential. They're used to having a certain amount of power over you because of the difference in your social dynamic, because you grew up where they were the towering figure, the authority, right? And they still feel entitled to that. And even as Christians, they feel entitled to it around everybody, right? Not just because if they were church leaders for a long time, but because they're Christians, right? They own every damn thing, right? They just go around planting flags. You know, it's not just countries like and ideas and holidays and whatever else. They plant flags in people, right? We own your respect. We own that shit. We own you. We can mine respect out of you and give it to ourselves if we want to, right? You end up with less. We end up with more. Seems fair to us, right? They just, that sense of entitlement, they don't even question it. And you're not supposed to question it either, right? And when they walk into a room, they size up the room and they try to figure out who they can get away with what with, right? How much can I get away with this person, with that person, and this person over here? And, you know, because they're not going to respect healthy boundaries. And so all you can do is set healthy boundaries for yourself, and they'll respect it or they won't. And if they don't, then that's on them. And that's my rant about it for today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So where I'm going with that is to say that that's where I think this thing becomes important, is because, believe it or not, I do think a lot of the people in your life probably don't need to be cut off, because if you ask for that respect, you'll get it. But I think you're putting yourself in a bad position if you don't realize and address the unhealthy behavior. Perfect example being my grandparents. I realize that I'm at a point where I'm not okay with my grandparents just asking me to praise the Lord when they answer the phone. Mm-hmm. And I feel really unfortunate that nobody has addressed this really bad behavior of theirs hitherto. But I feel like when it comes up again, I'm going to politely ask them not to. Now, right. I hope they'll just understand and that'll be the end of it. But if they get butthurt about it and say something to my mother, should she bring it up to me, she's going to get the full explanation of, well, why the hell hasn't anybody told them prior to now that this is totally an inappropriate thing to do? Right?
Right.
And the other thing is, here's what's kind of interesting, and I want other people to think about how this goes on in their family dynamic. I feel like there's this assumption of patheticness when it comes to their faith, and I'm not here for it anymore. Here's how it plays out with my grandparents. Somehow, we're all to believe that they are... And I actually believe in some sense they're the victims of all this. Like, you can sort of put yourself in a position in the lives of others where you're playing that dominant role, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then there does, like we say, times change, things shift. There actually becomes a time where, like you say, you've kind of lost your power. You lose your influence. You're not that way anymore. And now these people still treat you that way. And in some sense, they start to fail you because there's a shift that should naturally happen to where they then help you grow. But they don't do that. Now, they keep saying it's because, like, I actually feel this way about some abusers and stuff like that, where you almost do find yourself in the situation. It's like, well, you stated you're in that person's life for so long, and then you had all these revelations, and then there gets to be a point. It's like, well, are you ever going to try to pull them out of this thing, right? And it's really interesting when you hear cases about times where it actually does happen.
Yeah.
And I've kind of heard those stories, and it's like interesting in this dynamic, because it's like this whole thing has been really, really enabled in them to where they're treated as though their faith can't be challenged. They're just too stuck in their ways. They would never understand, and all this type of, I call it like a glass globe treatment. Like, they live in some sort of snow globe bubble, like literally the glass bubble, right? And it's like everything is fucking beautiful and ornamental and looks like a fucking scene from a Hallmark movie from the outside, but that's because it's a complete fiction, right?
Sure, and they like that, and sometimes they know it too. It was in Rebecca's book, that glass bubble that she loved when she was in the Islamic Sharia law countries. She knew it was an illusion, that this was not just all sunshine and rainbows, that a great many people, gay people and other people, had to suffer horribly in order for this totalitarian theocracy to exist and continue. Right. But she really, really enjoyed all the God talk. And she enjoyed it so much, she kind of felt like it was worth it. Worth the price other people had to pay for her to walk around in that glass bubble, that glass theocratic bubble, because it just feels good to her everywhere she goes, right? And it's just that entitlement and that selfishness, and that whole glass bubble thing where they don't, even when they notice what, the awful things that are going on behind the scenes to generate that effect, they're like, It's like, what can you do? You can't reason with these people because they don't, there's something in their conscience that isn't engaged. And we don't know how to spark that in them, and so all we can do is shake our head and walk away from it.
Absolutely. It's
again, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
All right, it looks like I got the alert box back on. It's been acting kind of weird the last couple of days, so we'll see how it goes. Yeah, it's a really strange phenomenon, and it's just something I think I've been trying to think through, right? Like, and I thought this was a fantastic way at it. When is it time to cut people off? How do you approach these conversations? So, I think if you're like me, you know it's time because you think about it so much or you're wrestling with it so much, right? When it starts to be, I think, important to you is the time to understand that it's important enough, I guess. So, yeah, I'm kind of good with that. I think because I know I'm kind of leaning back to, how to approach these conversations, right? Where she's talking about when is it time to cut people off, right? I almost think of it as certain strategic plays in card games or other stuff like that, where plays are information gathering. And I think where I'm going with this is I think sometimes you have to make these plays because you don't know where people are at. There was an element of that with Doug where I realized, okay, I'm done with Doug. And then I realized, okay, I could go about this very, very quietly, right? I could just unsub, don't recommend his shit to me on my front page, blah, 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 blah. Nobody really notices anything for weeks or months or whatever. Next time somebody says something about Doug or PineCreek, I just go, oh, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And it might even take a while before people even realize or notice that I just am not that into Doug anymore, But instead, I'm like, nope. This tomfoolery is very useful because, one, I need to see how this fool responds to me, right? Because that gets filed very differently under the information we have about somebody, right? Nah, nigga, I sat down in front of you and told you stepped out of line. So then I need to know where this community is at.
Right.
And, so you don't know those things unless you go there and it happens. And I think that's what I'm kind of getting at with people is you won't know who really will surprise you or who will turn around and maybe not jump to your side, but actually give you what you need, which is the understanding, the accommodation, a little bit of breathing room without having to fake the funk, right?
Right.
Go ahead.
Sometimes it comes from the damnedest places, like when I had that conversation with Rebecca about religious indoctrination as child abuse on her stream. I did not expect that Cy, of all people, would end up agreeing with me. Now, he didn't specifically have a problem with Christians indoctrinating children, but he admitted that he sees it as atheists are indoctrinating their children into atheism, and that's wrong. That's child abuse. And so while that doesn't on the surface look like an endorsement, I used it as one because I'm like, look, he's admitting that if you teach your children that a definitive position about God that it turns out to be not true or not warranted, that's child abuse, right? Here's this Christian admitting that's child abuse. He just disagrees with me about which side is doing the child abuse, which is rooted in the idea of, well, which side's right about God and which side's wrong about God.
Right.
So he still agrees with the principle that I spoke upon because she thought the principle was whack, that it couldn't be justified no matter if there's a God or not. And Cy came out and is like, yeah, principle's actually justified. James is right. It's just a matter of if God is real, then it's the atheists, so they're abusing their kids to say it's not real. And if God is not right, and then the other way around. So that's what it comes down to. So I ended up getting an ally in that fight with her from a Christian on her channel that she respected, and she did not see that coming. And sometimes, we got to take the chance. We got to put it out there, see how people respond. And
yes. Okay. So let me do something like similar. Also, James, I'm getting an echo on your end. Is that because you're listening? Did you split your devices up or what? I thought it was a slug at first, but maybe it's the tablet or something.
I don't know. I closed it just in case.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's gone now. All right. Okay. All right. So what was I? Oh, so let me give you some backstory on even my family in this regard, right? So part of my effort with my family is given that during COVID, my mom became really disillusioned with her church. And so that was part of my motivation, right? It wasn't just like, oh, I'm taking somebody who's just, all about the life and the Lord and just dropping atheism bombs on them. It's like, no, if there's ever going to be a time, right? It's like now that they're disillusioned with their church, because, my mom's done well for herself, right? So what does that mean? It means just like I went to a school where I'm the only black person, she lives in a community where there are not a lot of black people, right? And so when hang on one sec, I got my, just trying to get my scene set over here. All right. So when, COVID and all this shit happens, right? Normally times are good. They're all nice white people. It's all good. Praise the Lord. But now that this happens, she realizes there's a lot of this conservative leaning nonsense, right? So one, she's not really happy with their COVID response, right? At first they're doing everything at home, remote, but then there's, they start doing in-person services. Now, even till now, they keep the online services going. So she still goes online, which is why she just moved to New Jersey, and I guess she could still tune into the same services. But that represented a real split. And I think, she probably felt like me. When COVID first started and your church was home with you, everybody was home. And so it felt like your church was on board with this is how we have to meet now. When churches started going back to in-person services, and my church just even cut off the online, they just stopped doing it. But even when they kept doing both or the hybrids, it started to feel like there was a hierarchy, right? And you're really all about that in-person life again. You want everybody to ignore COVID, but you realize some of y'all sissies are still, not willing to sit up in the sanctuary, right? So, I guess we'll keep a Zoom open for you, whatever, right? And their shit's laid out. Their stuff's really, really nice, really well produced and all that. It's a very high end. Feels like you're watching some big fancy cable Christian broadcast. But still, right, you feel this difference, wait a second, why are they all meeting in mass again like it's all good? And, we're still dealing with this stuff. So that was a big break. And then of course, the pastor and a whole bunch of them got sick and shit like that. And then, around that election, just because this is going 2020, right? So then you got, all the Trumpism and the right-wing stuff that comes out. Not so much of that in her church from the pulpit or anything.
Overwhelming sense of impending doom.
Exactly. The sense of impending doom from the community, right? She's riding around her community oh, man, people got these crosses and Trump flags and patriotic symbols, and now I can't stand to see crosses in people's lawns and the patriotic flag, right? So it's the disillusionment is kind of creeping in there. Now, she still kept doubling down on her personal Christian identity with her families, right? But they're starting to see the cracks in this culture. You see what I'm saying? And that, to me, is where I think you're going to get a more reasonable hearing of skepticism. Right, rather than so you just got to be aware of that type of thing too, right? Sometimes people are sort of already seeing stuff because that's different than somebody who's really headstrong in it and is still seeing it as the, you just got to know who you're talking to, I guess, right?
Yeah, yep, you need to.
So yeah, let's jump back into a little bit more of that garden thing, and then I want to show people what's going on in Gather. So
Yeah, that gardening thing really has me interested. I think a lot of good aspects of it that could really bring a community together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And at the same time, I'm wondering if there's an address listed so that I can start saving my waste and sending it to them.
Yeah, right.
In jars and cans.
Let's get through the nitty gritty on the composting here. Very cool. So look, folks, this is what we call the full stack. All right. When you're a full stack programmer, it means you are doing everything from development to deployment, the user interface, whatever's. All right. They're doing the full stack, reuse everything. All right. Let's just leave it at everything, capital E. And let's just say there's the modular visions where you can sub out alternate means of particular parts of the process. So we might go with a little bit different mode of sanitation, more traditional or different sanitation plan. Let's just go with that. All right, cool.
Would you like to meet Kirsten and?
Hi, you're working hard.
Oh,
so
I'm sure
Neil is
it's
our
safe.
farmer.
I'm making jokes.
So he sells all our spare produce. We do thousands of dollars of sales.
To be honest, I'm sure it's to be quite honest, I'm sure it's a tremendous part of the productivity of their soil and their crops, right? Like that's natural fertilization, and you see this type of thing. Fertilization is shit, right? Some of the best, natural fertilization is bat poop, right? Like that's even in like organic shit. If I have a weed grow, it's just like a gazillion other things I don't have enough time to do right now. But that was the idea for one of the other channels so hopefully after I get the new machine, we'll get that up and going. That'll be an excuse to actually start growing. But right. One of the things that was funny, I was just going to say this quick story, is one of the things that was funny was we used to, you got to get rid of you got to change out your nutrients, right? So there gets a point where, every once in a while you change the nutrients in your hydroponic tank, right? So we would just dump it, out off the back porch, right? So it's just water with nutrients that we're about to put fresh ones into the plant. So we pour the water off the back porch. And it would just be amazing because just even the sort of regular old plants that were in the back of the yard, due to the fact that we'd be pouring water in this area, were just absolutely monstrous. And the difference to similar plants that were just in a different part of the yard was literally something that became kind of a running joke to us. And it was the idea that we don't give a fuck about these plants. Right, they just get the cast off from the plants that we actually do care about, but it's still so much extra, organic, good shit that they look like unbelievable. These look like superstar stellar plants, and we didn't cut them down for all we give a shit. It's just right. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate that too, and I would love to be involved in a project like this, but it depends, right? One, how many hours of labor a day are people putting in, and how are they being compensated for that? Like, if they're just being compensated with a sense of community, but then somebody's getting paid that's running the thing, that's exploitative. So I kind of want to know exactly what arrangement they have with the people that put in the labor there. And maybe it's fair, but I don't know what it is yet. And then also the kind of people you hang out with every day matters a lot. There are some people who are just a joy to be around. You just feel better about yourself and about life just to have time with those people and be part of the same project, right?
Yes.
But there are some people that are the opposite of that. And sometimes it's to no fault of their own. They just don't have interesting personalities and they're really low, like low functioning people and they're just kind of gross, but you don't call them on it because it's just like how they are, right? It's probably genetic and cultural and everything else. So there's some people that are just the opposite of a joy to be around.
Right.
And so if I were involved in a community project like this, I could take a mix, but there better be a fair amount of people that I interact with every day as part of the team as equals, right? That are just a joy to be around and make life feel better to work with them. Because if that's not there, then I don't even care if we're calling it a community or not, right?
Yeah, and so YouTube Punk said that they cover this in the video, and I'm going to drop the link because I'm not sure if we'll make it through the whole thing. You know how these things go, and I definitely think it's worth checking out. And I hope we're always helping people know what's out there when we highlight videos, when we respond to them. So let me go ahead and drop this real quick. Let me drop this link on everybody. So there's the video. Please do check it out and save it or whatever and share it. So a couple thoughts about that that I had off the top. So number one, that's really important, and it makes me think of what we do here on YouTube, because sort of the fantasy here for us is, this would be us trying to make our virtual compound a compound, right? And I often see that is part of it. So, part of the pull to me for being in a GTA motorcycle club, right, was that I hope to someday be in a motorcycle club, right? And, I actually believe that you do learn a lot, even in the simulated version, right? Just because, you're doing your best to replicate some of the dynamics, right? You learn the importance of your hierarchy, the rules, and, earning your vote, and, getting along with very different people from all walks of life, and how to deal with other clubs and having sit downs, all of that shit, right? So how to ride in formation, so it's just a lot, it's from the mundane to the very important. And part of the thing we've learned there is, where do you draw social boundaries? So and it's different. Like, I think, here's an example, I think that community can be much more inclusive politically than we can in our YouTube community with the Counter-Apologetics we do. And the reason seems to be, and I'm probably throwing this all off, and there are issues like COVID and race and different things like that, where it doesn't matter what what brings y'all together, y'all gonna butt heads. But overall, I think it's easy to patch over, because what we do is a neutral thing anyway. What we do is like a game, and it's the club and the motorcycle, and there's enough of that culture that the where you lean on those type of things are marginal parts of the culture, right? So they're a bit easier to smooth over. Whereas because it doesn't necessarily attract people with extreme positions. Right, we might happen to be like, we're everything in between. We're centrist, people who happen to lean left, happen to be right, happen to be really left, happen to be really right. But overall, that isn't part of the core of the group, right? And so politically, the group doesn't have a political identity, right? You see what I'm saying? Whereas like with us, you really different than us if you're far right. And part of the core of us is a certain skepticism and atheism and blase and glavinoids that, let's just say, it in the American paradigm tends to lean left. So that type of thing tends to be a bit more divisive in our community than it is over there. Right? I think. I don't know. It's just my take on it, but I could be blowing smoke up my ass. The thing I'm saying is, different type of communities have to deal with these different types of dynamics differently, because all these type of things matter. How important is political or social ethos to this community? Is this really a group of card players to where y'all once in a while have a heated argument about politics and y'all don't really give a shit afterwards? Or is this community itself an expression of your political liberal vision, in which case it's going to be a fucking issue? Right? Like, yeah.
Right.
Because that's kind of how I feel. Like so that's what I'm getting at. Because you said you got to be careful of the people you want to be around every day, right? Because that's how I feel about this. If we're trying to be a motorcycle club and there's a couple right-wing fucks in it, whatever, right? Literally, some of my closest friends in the club probably lean right, and it's just fine. Whatever. We're really good friends. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, if I was trying to, we gonna all do the cult of the flying man for real in person, and we're gonna community garden, and we're gonna share backyards every fucking day, and blah, 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 blah. Nah, the right-wing fucktards, we gotta sniff out before because I can't have, nope. Because I ain't going to just chill with the bigots and racists all day. Like, nah, I ain't going to, nope. It's too, again, it's getting it's too close to home. It's just, it's my food. It's who I, it's different. This ain't my ride, this isn't my ride or die riders. This is the motherfuckers I feed my family with? No, hell no. Nah, they got to be right.
Right.
So you're just saying you got to be careful, right?
Right. I made that mistake even with the women that I've long-term dated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Also, what's up, Mike? From Answers and Atheism. So you've been here for a minute. Sometimes you don't know when to butt in and say hi to somebody, but what's up? Well, keep going, James. I don't want to interrupt you.
Oh, it is good to see him. Yeah, I need to pay closer attention to Chant. So, like one of my exes, Mindy, you guys don't know them, so it's just a name, right?
Yeah, just a name.
It came up eventually that she was racist. And but she's white and I'm white, and it wasn't directly a problem for me.
Right.
And we lived in a white rural area, and that wasn't a problem for the neighbors. And all my kids are white, so it wasn't going to be a problem for them. But it was still a problem. And the longer I was with her, the more it was a problem. Like for example, we lived on this very windy, dangerous road that people aren't safe on, and there's no place safely to walk on the side of the street. And somebody had broken down, and it was a black guy, and he was on his way walking to try to get some kind of help, but he was going the wrong way. There was no gas station for like 10 miles direction he was walking, but he probably didn't know that. Right. And so I wanted to go back and help him. We argued about it. And she's like, no, you can't pick up, or she goes, she stopped herself in the middle of saying black, and she goes, you can't pick up hitchhikers. And I'm like, you're about to say black, weren't you? And she's look, I've had experiences with them people. I'm like, which people, hitchhikers? It's just like, no. Sometimes black people are okay, but a lot of times they're dangerous. You can't take a chance. Yeah. I'm like, so we had a big argument about this. And apparently her whole family turned out, they just racist. They're just white, elitist. And just didn't come up because it just doesn't, right? Like, it's just casual conversation. It doesn't come up until you both see a black guy that needs help, and then it comes up. And you're like, oh, shit, I've been with you 2 years now. I know you were racist.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, one of those things. And so, absolutely, like I can't sit with that at all.
Right. And it's weird. I've and that bad experiences thing is kind of an interesting racial cop-out because I dealt with that a lot growing up. Here's an example. There was this girl, and going into my senior year, which would have been her junior year, I guess, she kind of stepped the game up. You know how different females have that summer they really blossom?
Yeah.
And I had always been kind of nice to her, but she was kind of like nerdy like me, so we had some of those overlapping things. And I had seen her at the mall or whatever, so we started talking and we got really into it, right? And she got super excited about the idea of us, we gonna set them on blaze this year. They're not ready for this. And she, I think innocently, she couldn't have known because she wouldn't have done it, told her family about it with the anticipation that they were going to be excited. And her dad flipped the shit. Yeah, and this wasn't the first time that had happened to me, but this was news to her. But I felt bad because a lot of times, I think more times than not, girls I dealt with knew or suspected that to be the case, so they kind of would put me on to what's up, and he'd be like, "We gotta do it," kind of thing. But this was one of those instances, and I should say there were a bunch, but this was one of them where it really, really caught her by surprise, right? Or seemed to. And that was the thing. It was like his kind of excuse was that, right? It wasn't the outward, I don't like black people. It was that he grew up in the Philly area during a different time. And I heard a bunch of these stories when I was coming up because, of course, I was dating white girls with racist dads. And it would be, there was a lot of racial tension when they were in high school or whatever the fuck, right? Mm-hmm. And so there was constant, you know, they call them race riots or race wars or these fights, these big brawls that were breaking out, you know, over... We tried to jump a black kid, and the rest of the black kids tried to show up and stick up for him, and big brawl broke out, right? So, but this was like a thing. Again, probably even happened maybe more, James, when you came up than when I did, or when Uncle Bobby. You know, this is a thing it's just slowly and steadily declined, and whatever. But like, you know, white kids and black kids used to scrap, right? The boys especially. Uh-huh. But it was interesting how 20 years later, those same dudes were sort of using that to say, hey, I had a bad experience when the races get too close. Right? And so it was interesting how they used, like, you know, this clearly unacceptable racist environment that they grew up in as an excuse to perpetuate it. Oh, I'm not one of the bad racist dads. It's just that, well, I did happen to grow up where they tried to, like, have black people and white people get along. And let's just say it didn't go well, right? And it's kind of a threat, right? Yeah. It's just, right? Yeah. So, no, you can't date him, in fact, right? Like, it just, you know, which is where all this was going, right? And to make a point about you saying being, like, a deal breaker or it was really going to be an issue, it got to a point where when she was talking to me about it, I had to just, again, kind of let the situation go. It was, looking back on it, to be quite honest with you, it was pretty devastating to me, right? Because this was a pattern in my life, right? And I was always kind of looking for healthier relationships with romantic partners, even in high school, right? I started young, y'all, and so even by high school, I was already traumatized. You know, there was always that thing between the girls you have explosive chemistry with, they're very attractive, but they're toxic, and the girls you have explosive chemistry with, they're very attractive, and y'all actually get along and are really good for each other. And, you know, there was always a reason where the latter situations were working out for me. So this was a situation I was very excited about. And then this thing happened, and then it was like out of, like, I hate to say this, but like some sort of stereotypical, like black resist, no, what's the word I'm looking for? Black endurance, or what's the word for somebody who goes through a lot but they're good, like they're used to this, they have a certain resilience, right? Stamina. Resilience is a good word. Like black resilience, right? It kind of leads to stereotypes where they're like, oh, black people don't feel pain, but it's like a certain resilience where I'm used to my social life and world being traumatized by racial drama. She's not. So it's like, I got to walk away from her because I feel so bad for her. I'm like, look, we just got to more or less kill this thing. And of course, we were still friendly. We talk once in a while when we could, or, you know, have a little friendly conversation. You know, but we always knew it because it was like, look, you have to be okay in your house, girl, right? And it was super unfortunate because, of course, she was gorgeous and we always got along well from that point on. And then it became a great irony because she ended up going to Penn State, right? So then it was like, fuck, who knows, right? Could end up being at the same college too. Like, that'd have been fucking amazing. But it was just. It was really sad because I ended up in a position where it's like, well, you got to be okay in your house and you got to live with this racist dad, right? So I just kind of, you get to a point where you realize it's not healthy for you to be a source of conflict in someone's house every day just because y'all like each other, as fucked up as that sounds. So again, they grew up in a racist-ass environment. Now their racism is fucking... now they're perpetuating the racism, right? And then, in a weird way, the most humane response is to do something that in itself enables that perpetuation of the racism, right? Because you're like, at the end of the day, kids just have to... They're not in a situation where they can really have their... They don't have enough autonomy to fight the power right now, right? Like you said, they're still dominated under thumb by their parents. So, you know, that was the story in my household, was like having those conversations, right? Like, Jay, you got to know when to hold them, when to fold them type of shit. Which isn't really conversation for a 17-year-old to be having about their... who they want to take to prom or whatever the fuck, right?
Right.
Yeah. But it's really interesting. So I think about that a lot. So here's a couple things I was thinking, and I know we wax, and then I want to make sure people get the point. So point number one is you do something where you get this kind of intentional community thing. Number one, you got to be careful who you get in there, because I think it's part of what we identify as different dynamics where how you might be as a social political person may or may not be super relevant to how you construct your life. So for people like me, these ideas, these feelings and stuff like that are so important to me. Again, we'd have to be careful who we're doing this with, right, James? And then the second part of that is, even when you have people who are on your side, up and down the issues and the perspectives and opinions, you don't want to be this close to them. And YouTube Punk said they touch on that. But yeah, again, because you have to be careful who's in your day-to-day contact. So there's some people on our quote-unquote side in our community. We love them to death, you know, agree with them and all that. But, you know, they're guest room people, not gather people, because there's a certain way to which people who are in the gather with the passwords are around in my ear and in my life around the clock and have access to me in a way and each other people don't. There's a lot of vulnerability that takes place in gather, and quite frankly, there's certain people I can't tolerate their voice that much. We might agree about everything important under the sun. I might think they're a wonderful person, but they got 10 to 15 minutes a couple times a week before I would have to just snap their neck just to regain the peace and order in my community's life. And you and I feel the same way about... I'm sure we don't feel this way about all the same people, but there's some people we both feel this way about. Like, yeah, they're one of our people, but we ain't ever going to be friends.
Yeah, there is. You know, basically, my position on everything is I will meet people where they'll meet me at, right? Like, if they want to meet me as an enemy on the field, then that's okay. That's where we'll meet.
Yeah.
If they want to meet me as somebody who can just respectfully disagree with, okay, we'll meet there. If they want to meet me as a friend, then okay, but that means that they have to uphold a certain standard to be a friend.
Right.
And the better they do with that, the closer we can be. And it's just a matter of where, you know, that social solar system orbit thing. Like, it depends on the person. But I let them decide. Like, who are you relative to me? Show me who you are, and that's going to determine where I stand with you. So I don't think the only people in this world that I hate are people that hate me.
Yeah.
And and I hate them because they hate me. I don't hate them. But I just mean, like,
there would also be people surprised to find this is person. So I guess sometimes let's call it, there's really ideology rubs, right? I don't want to live with this person because our ideology is too different. And there's other people, they're just personality rubs. And so there'd be people, like I've made the mistake of inviting certain people together, and I'm like, no, I had to remove that person. It's not because we're not on the same team. It's just because I don't like them like that. Like I can't stand the sound of their voice is the nicest way to put it. But there are people that feel that way about me. They feel that way about you. We don't feel that way about each other, but it's the same thing. I'm sure there are certain people. There are not many people who watch me because my YouTube streams are really long. So if you watch me on YouTube, you could probably tolerate an extraordinary amount of my voice. But there are people who fundamentally don't like me or probably don't watch me, and it's not because they disagree with anything that ever comes out of my mouth. It's because they hate the way I present myself, they hate the music, they hate the outfits, or they just hate the sound of my voice. And so they might be like, if Jay and I had to contribute money to candidates, it'd be the same candidates. If we had to show up and support causes, it'd be the same fucking causes. But if I have to listen to him for more than 30 seconds, I'm gonna jump out a window. Right? And I just have to accept that that's how certain people feel about me. And I definitely feel that way about other people. So if I made my list of who could be in my for real commune or compound, just like my virtual compound, a lot of people wouldn't be on the list for what would essentially be essentially very arbitrary reason.
Sure. And I have my list of things that I can't stand too. And yeah, there are some people in our community that are well respected who I don't involve myself with. Maybe I used to, but I don't anymore because I don't like the vibe we have together. I can tell they don't respect me, or sometimes they're abusive, or they're just the whole dynamic is just wrong. There's a guy who I used to support his channel, and I'm on his page about pretty much everything, but I can tell he doesn't really respect me. And that's a problem with a lot of people in the community that get up there. Like, they really get published books and a following and prestige. Most of them become elitists, and that shit just beyond annoys me. I think it reveals a horrible character flaw when people become elitists, and now the only time they want to show respect for other people is if you can do something for them because you've got this clout because of what you've accomplished as an atheist or a skeptic or a philosopher or something. You got to have the credentials, or you got to have a big giant following, or some successful book deals. Unless you're useful to them in that way, they just don't feel like you're worth even saying hi to. They're just blah, and I just hate that whole exploitative elitist people using each other bullshit. It just goes too far. And so there's people even on my friends list that are super elitist, and we just don't get along. I just ignore them and they ignore me. So, and then there's Nathan. I personally can't stand Nathan as a human being, but he's been on, I think they just they just finished a stream over at Mythvision where they were talking about Jordan Peterson's bullshit. And I wanted to join that stream. I wanted to be there and be part of it, but I can't stand Nathan. I didn't want to listen to him talk for 2 hours. So I didn't go over there. And I stayed here and chilled with you guys instead. So, everybody's got their people that they don't like for whatever reason.
Yeah, I feel that way. And then some of it's by association too. There are people I wouldn't want around because I want you around more. So I'm not, I wouldn't even take the time to get to know them, right? So we could put, let's just throw a name like this, a Stephanie out there. I don't really know shit about Stephanie X, but it's your antagonist is James Apperson. You could build as many bridges of love and understanding. I'm never gonna cross them, right? I'm just right. So that's kind of how that goes a lot of times too. So it's very interesting. So yeah, it's interesting because it all starts to sound and feel like high school, but in a sense it has to, because you take on much more responsibility as you take on that much of a bigger part in each other's lives, and it's very, these are all very interesting questions. Yeah, and I think I wanted to definitely say that's how I see even communal space. It's why I want to do more with Discord, because I feel like you can only really come and get to know people so well through like YouTube chats and call-ins and stuff. And to me, I've noticed that like I enjoy Gather so much, and it becomes such a comfortable, friendly space for all of us that I really don't want people we don't know or like in there. And so I actually get nervous when it comes to the idea of inviting somebody new to Gather, because it's just such a vibe with everybody that's in there. You know, like you said, it's where everybody knows your name, right? So you don't want anybody in there who's like, who's that, or okay, what's the vibe gonna be like now, right? You know, so there has to be that path. And to me, that's where like Discord comes in, because YouTube is interactive, but it's a lot of time it's about the streamer or whatever, and that's cool. But you know, as you escalate into the community, it's more and more about the group. Like, you know, so like when you're in Gather, everybody's talking potentially about whatever. There's a lot going on. People are much more vulnerable. The drinks are flowing freer. Opinions are, you know, and we're having we're having fun, right? We're doing all the other things that are not about this shit, right? So, I guess my point is just to say something like Discord becomes more important to me, because that's where you can interact with other people, and you can interact offline. You can have other conversations, so that there's a greater chance that we actually feel like we get to know somebody. So it's like, oh, we know who that is. Oh, we, you know what I'm saying? Oh, we've talked to them in Discord or whatever. Also, people could just introduce themselves differently. Hey, I'm so-and-so, blah, 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 whatever. All right, cool. You know, it's all good. So I'm going to try to make sure when I get these machines swapped out here in the next month or so, hopefully, that I go back to trying to reshare everything on Discord. That way everybody could kind of, you know, I kind of want to use that as like you know, in different steps. Plus, it's a good hub for everything too, because you know, Gather's not a hub for text chats and stuff like that. But
right,
yeah. But yeah, man, this has been super fun. Let's pop back into the Pinochle Lounge, because I want to show people some of the stuff we've done over there, and we'll kick it over there for a little bit.
Okay.
All right, so let me pop Myron Bot back in there. Go back to the ranch, Myron Bot. My bads, bro. Just chill. Just go. Ooh. I don't know. Oh, it's because he's a guest. I gotta figure out how to make people members and not guests. So I don't know why some people are members and others are guests. All right, so let's see. Boop. All right. So there's Myron Bot chilling, doing the thing. Me up, wrong place. That's the cafe. There's the ranch. There's me. You should actually check your audio settings. Camera is good. All right, cool. Now I'm back up in here. Oh, yes. Oh, guys, wait till I show you what we've done. All right, so me and my main AR have been hard at work Getting this gather thing to be fantastic. All right, now, yeah, it's definitely almost done. It's time. It's about to be that time. I'm just showing people some of the new features, man. So basically, we've been testing out different games and different things on the computer and the phones and different things to work out things on different devices. But I'll just show you guys some of the things that we've been really excited about. So one thing is to keep it, first let's keep it low key and give Gather some credit, because the Tetris implementation is actually fantastic. It's battle Tetris. People jump in. You go against your friends. There's actually like all these different modes. Free play is regular. PC is perfect clear. There's wild different modes. Sprint is like a sprint to this many lines cleared. And I think cheese race is time, maybe. I'm not really sure. But there's all these different modes. Did I just start? I didn't mean to start. Anyway, there's settings. Where are the settings at? All right, so you go to settings. So yeah, there's Pentamino blocks and memory list, preview list, hold list. But yeah, there is a hold function for those of you that are Tetris nerds. And then there's settings here, these. So you can actually change the skins on the blocks themselves to change what they look like. You can change the grid. But yeah, we've actually figured out that this Tetris is kind of beast. So much love to the Gather Tetris. And like I said, you can actually hop in lobbies with like random people. Like this one, so these are, it shows you like players. So you can set up a lobby, like AR set up a room yesterday and just started playing with some random person. You can jump into rooms with random people. So you can actually like just tap into the whole Gather Tetris community vibe there. Really fun. I'll probably play some. We also set up all right, so AR set these machines up. These actually have Pac-Man in it. Boop. So when we're chilling here watching movies or something, you can actually chill here. I guess my sound is off. Boom. I think I just turned it on. Boom. You can play Pac-Man. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, the vibes. Yeah, that's the vibes. That's the vibes. Get them. That's the vibes. Yeah, we playing Pac-Man. Yeah, what? Yeah, the Gather is tricked out. What? Oh, my Gather is tricked out. What? What? Come get it. Come get some. I'm trash at Pac-Man, but y'all see. Oh, what? Get it. What? Oh, you want some? Wait, how is he not blue? Y'all saw that. They cheated me. I saw they cheated me though. All right, that's super cool. Then look at this. This is a Nintendo emulator. Boop. Come on now. What? Y'all want to play some Galaga? Boom. All right, but look, all types of games, right? Just all the good old NES classics. They're here. Play Popeye the Sailor Man. All right, but look, you're still in Gather. We got it integrated. So look, you're still here. You can see the cameras. You can still see the cameras, right? You can still see the Gather chat. So by using these integrated websites, it's like really nice because when we're watching a movie or hanging out, like you can still keep track of everything. It's very nicely integrated now. I'm going to be working on the Pinochle tutorials, but well, you sit over here, you got the Pinochle book. All right, so that's gonna how you start. I'm gonna actually keep upgrading this book eventually into like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a markdown type of booklet type situation. But anyway, we'll start working that up. But that's where I'm going to put a lot of the how you get started learning Pinochle is going to be in the Pinochle book. And I'm going to build up some stations, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. But for now, when you want to learn the Pinochle, you can come over here to the bar, head to the Pinochle book. You get started here. And then since we've done these integrated apps, I've changed it for those of you that have been playing cards and learning Pinochle, is now I've made it so instead of Pinochle coming from a note, you can actually press X here, and then boom, you can get into World of Cards. And so what's cool now is like you don't have to pull up Pinochle in a separate tab or on a separate device. You can actually basically have it treated as though it's a Gather app. So look, our Gather is getting super tricked out, super fun. Obviously, Tetris is a Gather game. Actually, and the Gather games are fun. Like we've got their poker in here as well. Like, it's really nice, right? Because it's really fun. It's easy to get started. There's no ads. There's no bullshit. There's no in-app purchases, commercials, none of that nonsense. So we love gaming in Gather, and you know, they do have fun games built in. But look, but what we do is we customize ours so that we have our own stuff built in. We've been sampling a lot of different Uno apps. We've pretty much settled on Uno. It's called Uno Scuffed, or Scuffed Uno rather. It works really well, especially when you play it through its own website. It works on your phone as well as computers. So boom, like you sit here and look, now that's built in together using an integrated website. So it almost seems just like this is a Gather game, but like this is not a Gather game. We put this in here. So I'm really, really enjoying this space. It's allowing us to have a ton of fun because we're basically integrating the games we like to play in our community that we have fun with. So we can just sit down, boom, pull up the Scuffed Uno. And yeah, we're going to do even more. We're going to put a Mario Kart station over here. So definitely get with that Mario Kart Tour, which is free on the Google Play Store and also the App Store with iOS or whatever. And we've also been playing some dominoes. So there's a dominoes app that's also available on the Google Play and the App Store. It's called Jogatina Dominoes. Let me see. Let me put a link in there so y'all could get the app. I'll put the Google Play link, but there's another version on the App Store if you're on the iOS side of things. Here we go. All right, Tammy, trying to get back in your chair. All right, he did it all by himself. Yeah, we're gonna put chess in there. All right, I don't. There is chess, so there's already chess in here, but I'll put a chessboard in here. I didn't know if people are gonna play chess, but we have a few chess players, so I'll put a chessboard in here. There's a bunch of really good chess apps, so I'll show you where the chess is currently. Gather doesn't have a chess app, but we'll find a good one to integrate in here. We'll just make sure it looks good online in the phone. I'm gonna put my team on it. I'm sure between me, AR, Punk, and Joel, we'll find a good chess app. I have a couple on my phone, but I want to find something that works with Play Pass probably. The Google Play Pass has been a really good bargain for us. So I think there's a Play Pass chess app. Oh, wait, where am I going? Sorry. Y'all wanted to see chess. My bad. So the way you currently can play chess, if you're here, is over here. It's kind of like human chess, where what you do, there's some other games over here, but these are fun games. We'll have game nights to play Gather games. is you pick up a piece, press in space, and then you move it where you want it. You're like, okay, boom. There's my thing. Okay, I'm on the other team. I'm going to move here. Or 2 spaces, boom. All right. Go over here. I'm going to skip over here, do some illegal move, put his piece down over here. All right. I'm going to act like I don't know how to play chess. I'm going to do this move over here, put this guy over here. All right. But, all right. And then if you're done, if you don't like that, you just go over here, press X, resets the board. All right. Now, to me, I'm just showing y'all that that's where it is right now if you want to play chess. But I'll put chess in the pinochle room. So just give me, a little bit of just give me a minute. Yeah, we'll put it in there. I could put it in there today. I don't have a problem with that. I'll do it when we get off. Because we gotta make sure it's right. We gotta make sure it's visually nice. We gotta make sure it plays nice on all the devices. We gotta make sure the integrated website works nicely, just so that it gives the kind of experience people are coming to expect from us. But yeah, I'm really, really happy about this. It's just really, really slick now because you can chill. You don't have to have an extra screen to keep track of what's going on and gather. You can really go ahead and get busy playing Pinochle here. Again, you've got and to be honest with you, this Pac-Man has other games in it, so it's kind of fun. We did it for Pac-Man, but if I pull the fader, it's got some other games in it. Frogger is in here. Some of these games, I think the non-Pac-Man ones don't have volume control, so they're really loud. But they are in here. You can play Asteroids, Kong, Donkey Kong, all right? And then, of course, if you really want to, though, I'd recommend if you want to do something that's not Pac-Man, I'd recommend the NES simulator, because that's where you have the ability to turn the sound off and sit here and chill, play some old school games. But yeah, make sure y'all get that Mario Kart. Make sure y'all get that Joe Gattina Dominoes. Like, this is the reason is because a lot of us get the Play Pass. So if y'all don't know what the Play Pass is, if you have a device with access to the Google Play Store, Play Pass is this thing where basically you get a lot of games, hundreds of awesome games, and they're all ad-free and they don't have in-app purchases. So now some of them, when you get them, like this Dominoes game, it's a free game, but if you don't have the Google Play Pass, it will have ads in it. But the reason we prefer these games is because a bunch of us are getting them. We encourage everybody to get it. It's worth getting it, right? Because a bunch of us have it. So by a bunch of us having it and having these games, it makes it really nice when we play these games. We have all these games we have access to, and they never have any ads or added purchases. So it's really smooth, and we never have ads or commercials between hands and stuff. So it's really fun. And then I know some of y'all are curious about the price of the Google Play Pass. So it's $5 a month or just $30 for the year. So let me know. And let me know through a DM if you want it, but it's, you're having a financial hardship or whatever. I'll send you a month's worth of Google Play Pass or something if you're in Gather and gaming with us. But want a trial on the house for the Google Play Pass, I'd be happy to help you out. But Lena is gonna be the Mario Kart champ. The question is for how long? No, that's the question. Is for how long? See, you don't know. The question is, you got to see who's going to get ambitious. Who's going to get ambitious? Also, I'm telling you, them dominoes is drama. The dominoes is straight drama. All right? Now, also, don't forget, guys, there's a lot of other games out here in the game room. This is the Pinochle Lounge. It's not the actual game room. This is the game room. You got all the gather games. You got more poker. You got the witch dice. Y'all gonna have to come in here and wander around. There's a lot of games. But some of the stuff we've added is we've added crazy games. So you come over here, you press a note, you can go to crazy games. I guess we'll probably integrate that one too. But this is like a whole arcade you can play. If you're coming in here and you're just hanging out and you want to kill some time. And then, of course, all the pool tables here and in the Pinochle Lounge give you links to the pool apps we play. 8-Ball Pool is the one for your device. And then if you're on the computer, go ahead and get that Pure Pool. This game is gorgeous. Look at this. This is what it actually looks like when you play it. I mean, this game is amazing. This is like probably like our favorite. It's also got snooker in it. All right, so yeah, we got a lot going on. We're having lots of fun. So yeah, I want to thank AR definitely for helping me get this going, and I am super excited. But yeah, I think we're gonna end the stream. We're gonna link up and gather, chill out, relax, watch some football. We got an AEW pay-per-view tonight at 8. Afterwards, we will be probably watching some TV shows like Cheers or whatever, and then we'll get into some feature movies. It's Saturday night, so we're not going to be playing any games. We are going to be playing games, but I mean, we're not going to be playing games as far as the movies are concerned. We're going to be getting into some fun features, some heavy-hitting movies, some real quality pictures. We're not gonna be fucking around. So yeah, come link up with the gang and gather. If you don't have the passwords and stuff, hit us up in Discord. Discord is the way to get the information about how to get in to gather. Appreciate everybody for watching. Want to thank James for co-hosting with me. Always have great conversation. Do check out the rest of that community gardening video. I dropped the link in the chat. It's a really good video. Y'all know how these things are. The conversation gets going. We don't always get through it, but definitely show some love and support for that project. It's giving us some inspiration about, the type of thing we could do with a community like this in real life. And you never know. I think we may revisit it because I think it ties into some of the stuff I was talking about the other day with rapid prototyping and the maker movement and my friend Tim's Replimat, sort of these technologies that enable you to sort of do communal, sustained living the same way some of this community gardening stuff takes care of you on the food production and some of the domestic essentials. That's really what Tim is all about, is really about, to be honest, it's a philosophy, really, the deeper you get into it. It's a philosophy of sustainability. And it's really fun from like anarcho-syndicalism perspective, from a creative or a technical perspective, from a engineering philosophy, all of these things. So these sort of alternative ways of living are something we should be taking more and more interest in so that we point towards making things better with whatever time we have left. Even if we are on a totally forsaken planet. But yeah, thanks everybody. Let's keep the positive groove going. Come hang out and gather. Let's have some fun. In the name of the Darwin, the Dawkins, and the Christopher Hitchens. Science bless you all. Poof!
Ready for takeoff?
Whoa.
Working hard on my stump, what's the problem? I ain't had shit to show, being modest. Now it's grams of the wax for my conscience. Bron James in LA, you're on college. I've been jumping on them planes like a hobby. Still moving with the pack like my partners. Shut the John on them jets cause we wildin'. But the bowl is a party on the island, moment of silence. So good, get back to the topic. Grew up, it was me and Flocka. Grandma's and Big T, this my mama. I ain't even for the pain when my pots flipped. Knew his name, that's it, never bothered. Mom said, you the man, son, you got this. Ever since I found a way to go and pop shit. Hold up, blaze through a whole zip. Took a seat at the table of my first flip. Days in red roof with my first whip. Spent the money with the gang, never post pics. Seen a change in the game, had to coach it. Never let them take my wangs in the mold, bitch. Ever made in a month, nigga. Used to serve him at the minute, just the front, nigga. Goddamn. Had to grow up quick, I made my own rules. Had my first child, got it jumping with music. Can't really hang with nobody who losing. I thought by now that you would go and get it, but I could hardly see niggas this distant. Know you get cropped if you not in the picture. And I made that tag and went got a bag. Shots to the Henny and OG prescriptions, put rebel shit on the map. Took a leap from where I started at. Started ballin' now, I'm Chris Paul and Cat. Got him steady calling for the mold, but I'm on a roll, gotta call him back. And that's all fact.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. All carry-on items should now be stowed securely, either in an overhead bin or under the seat in front of you. All aisles, exits, and bulkhead areas should now be clear. All electronic devices should now be turned off and stowed, as they may interfere with the aircraft's navigational and communication systems. Once airborne, we'll let you know when you may use approved electronic devices, but note that some items may not be used at any time during the flight.